maybe earnings, that the reopening is coming, herd immunity is coming because of the vaccinations. That is the far and away consensus story. So we've had bond yields go from 50 basis points last August, the 10-year note at least, to 177 2 weeks ago. So in a lump sum respect, that was all discounted in. So this might have been, sell the rumor and buy the news. And now that we're getting the news of the good data, it's what we've already priced in.
Ernesto, do you welcome this stabilization in yields?
It's interesting. I agree with Jim. It's technical in nature, and they should continue to get higher as the economic numbers come in very strong, like they did today with all the consumer data. That was incredibly strong, and you still have all that's infrastructure spend that's going to come. So the consensus is that we're going to have very strong economic growth, and I think that is the correct consensus, and that's going to translate at the end of the day into earnings growth. We're expecting about 45% growth 2021 versus 2020 in the S&P 500 earnings, and that's a very, very strong number. And at the end of the day, that will drive the markets higher. Although the valuations are a little bit elevated, and they're going to be pullbacks here and there. But I think the conditions are very good, financial and monetary, for this market to continue to go higher.
Last hour I spoke with Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan. Here's what he had to say about capital markets.
The nature of the capital markets is they ebb and flow, Wilf, and so we're up, investment banking fees up, I think, up 50% year over year, and Matthew Koder and our team have done a great job. We hope it continues. The pipelines are full, all the things they do, so we expect it'll be a pretty good quarter next quarter. On the other side of it, on the sales trading, naturally, the first quarter is more robust, and so you had a combination of things. So the expectations might come down a little bit, but we'll see. It's early on to tell, and we'll see as it plays out in the quarter.
Steph, I guess if anything stays close to the current levels, that will be a huge positive. So I thought that was fairly constructive on the capital markets. What did you make of his answers overall?
Wilfred, didn't he tell you it's going to last forever?
Yeah, he did. From my lips to God's ears, or something like that. Which I liked. I wasn't quite sure what it meant, but I liked it. And it shall be. We've decreed it now, Steph. But anyway, getting back to the details of the interview, I guess the earnings call underwhelmed a little bit today. Clearly, the share price reacted to the downside. Did he answer a few of the questions that were raised on the earnings call?
I thought you did a great job, and I thought he did a great job, by the way. And you actually got out of him that he's going to be buying back stock in the next couple of days when they can get it, and they get out of the blackout period. So he's got $25 billion. I like the fact that they'll do what they can. Obviously, they're constrained by the Fed in terms of timing. But I think where the stock price is trading at, he should be buying stock, right? I mean, he should certainly increase the dividend, but they should be buying stock when anytime your stock is trading, close to 1.3, 1.4 times book value. That's still very cheap by historical measures. Yeah, the quarter did underwhelm, Wilf. I think everyone's struggling with NII and why it's just not doing that well in the face of higher interest rates, and that's because loan growth has been really sluggish. And if you do believe that the economy is going to improve, and I thought he answered the question perfectly, if you believe the economy is going to grow 6, 7, 8% GDP this year, maybe even more, then loan growth should come back. And it's going to come back maybe not so much in the second quarter, but it's going to be a second half of the year story. I also liked his answer about expenses. The efficiency ratio was disappointing. Costs were disappointing, but it seemed like it was a one-time only kind of thing, given all that's going on. So I thought it was a really good interview. I thought it was a good conference call. I get why the stock is down, but I think if this thing falls another couple of percentage points, it's an absolute buy.
Well, as Moynihan told Wilfred, it's already had a pretty strong run. The stock is up 75% in the last 12 months. Ernesto, what are you getting from the banks as far as any ideas? They've certainly had strong quarters. We've seen some differentiation. Are you a buyer of any?
Oh yeah, we're happily buying. We've held Goldman Sachs for a while, and we're adding to that position. It's simply a play on economics, like Stephanie said, plus the trading side of things. You can't discount the fact that you have all these retail traders going in and buying GameStop and doing all those things that may not be necessarily quite what the pros do. And then you have Goldman Sachs on the other side probably making a lot of money off of that. So that's probably going to continue for a little bit. But mainly it's a geared play on the economy and the fact that you have interest rates going higher on the long end and the short end stays low because the Fed keeps it low. So their net interest margin and loan growth will come in at some point. Will help their bottom line, and we hold them and we're very excited about the sector for now.
Steph, I know you hold Morgan Stanley, who report tomorrow. Do you wish you held Goldman Sachs after yesterday?
Yeah, because Goldman was tremendous. It was absolutely a stellar report across the board, and they beat, especially in their global markets. I mean, FICC and equity trading. I mean, those numbers were just astounding, and they clearly are taking market share. But I think Morgan Stanley is a little bit different animal, right? Because, and we've talked about this, it's more of like a wealth management piece, which I like. They do have the institutional side and the capital markets, which I like. But they also are doing a lot in terms of M&A and Eaton Vance and E-Trade, and I think there's a lot of synergies that they can acquire, I think he's really decided that he wants to diverse. And this is the CEO, James Gorman. He's decided he wants to diversify the company, so they're not such hostage to the yield curve and the steepening or the flattening, if that's depending on what happens in the macro world. So I like what he's doing. I think the valuation, it's interesting. It's now trading at a premium to Goldman, but I do think it should, because given its diversification strategy.
It's been up more than a double into the earnings tomorrow, Morgan Stanley. Robinhood responding to a complaint from the Massachusetts Security Division. This fight heating up. Kate Rooney with the details. Kate.
Hey, Sarah, we've got an update here to that fight between Robinhood and Massachusetts. The startup responding now to the state securities regulators, saying that they would try to revoke Robinhood's broker-dealer registration in the state. That's part of a larger complaint against Robinhood. In a blog post, Robinhood hitting back here, saying that they, quote, don't believe our customers are as naive as the Massachusetts Securities Division paints them to be. Showing a list of companies in a certain sector is not a recommendation, they say. So a nod there from Robinhood as being a self-directed broker. They go on to say that the complaint reflects, quote, the old way of thinking that new, younger, and more diverse investors don't have a place in the market. By trying to block Robinhood, the division is attempting to bring its residents back in time and reinstate the financial barriers that Robinhood was founded to break down. So painting the regulators as sort of old school here and out of touch. They say that they're going to fight this in court. They welcome the opportunity to correct the record. Massachusetts regulators had originally argued back in December that Robinhood was gamifying the market and luring in some of those newer investors. They also say that they failed to meet their fiduciary responsibilities. Guys, back to you.
Kate, interesting one, developing, lots more to come, no doubt. Thank you. We'll have to leave it there for the Market Zone today. Steph, Ernesto, Jim, thank you all for joining us. Much appreciated, as ever.
Thanks, Will.
Up next, Charles Schwab Chief Investment Strategist Lizanne Saunders on whether companies will be able to beat earnings expectations as easily as they have done in recent quarters. Plus, Mike Santoli will look at the new data that could suggest market vulnerability is back. We are back in 90 seconds.
Zero commission trades for online U.S. stocks and ETFs, and a commitment to get you the best price on every trade, which saved investors over $1.5 billion last year. That's Decision Tech, only from Fidelity.
At Empower Retirement, we help you open doors that get you ready for everything that lies ahead. Because your financial wellness is what matters most. Behind every door is an opportunity to save for life's moments.
So proud of you.
These are your goals, and it's time to help get you there. We've been opening doors for more than 12 million customers across America as they save for the future they want. We are Empower Retirement, and we're ready to open some doors for you.
With education technology growing to $6.1 billion by 2025, there is no better time to build the future with Abhi, an AI-enabled tutor named one of Time's best inventions in 2020. Abhi makes school fun and learning easy. Visit joinabhi.com for more information.
No one likes to choose between safe or sporty, modern or reliable. We want both. We want a hybrid. So do banks. That's why they're going hybrid with IBM. A hybrid cloud approach helps them personalize experiences with Watson AI while helping keep data secure. From banking to manufacturing, businesses are going with a smarter hybrid cloud, using the tools, platform, and expertise of IBM.
Stocks finishing sharply higher today following blowout economic data and strong earnings this morning from the banks. The Dow and the S&P 500 both closing at new record highs. The Dow closing about 34,000 for the first time ever. Let's bring in Lizanne Saunders, Chief Investment Strategist and Senior VP at Charles Schwab. Lizanne, it's been quite a powerful rally here.
Yeah.
How much longer can it last? How much farther can it go based on the fundamental news we're getting?
Don't I wish I knew that? The fundamental news is obviously incredibly. Yeah, but I don't try to time markets in the short term. So I said it with jest, but there's some seriousness behind it too, because I don't think that's how investors should approach investing. Clearly, the economic news has been spectacular. What was interesting, at least today, was watching the move down in the 10-year. And I'm not quite sure what to make of that yet, other than maybe given how strong the news is, maybe the bond market is pricing in peak growth coming sooner than expected. And we're still early in earnings season, but of course the numbers have been gangbusters so far. We've had less than 40 companies report, but 88% have beaten expectations. The percent by which companies have beaten so far is more than 20%, which is well above the kind of mid-single digit norm for that kind of metric, at least pre-pandemic. But we still have a ways to go. And I think it's not just what companies report for the first quarter, but what their outlooks are, particularly for the second quarter, given that that's really when we get into that acceleration mode from a comp perspective, where consensus right now from Refinitiv is for a 55% increase year over year in earnings. And as long as we see that the bar is set low, that acceleration in earnings is doing a lot of the heavy lifting and bringing valuations down, which clearly had been a concern, I think, until recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of hard to understand what to make of the numbers because the comps are also pretty easy from where we were this time last year on sales, on earnings. So when you talk about the bar for outlooks, which is going to be the most important thing, where is it right now? Just explain what companies need to do, which sectors you'll be watching for who can clear that. That will be a tell of whether this market can continue to rally.
Yeah, so the consensus, excluding today's reports, because Refinitiv puts out its consensus data now just on a weekly basis, is for a 25% year-over-year jump in Q1 and a 55% year-over-year jump in Q2. And some of the more cyclically oriented sectors, like financials in particular, is where the expectation is for the highest beat rate. So given the strength in cyclicals since early November when we got the positive Pfizer news, and those being a driver looking ahead into 2021 in terms of really powering that strong year-over-year growth for the overall index, I think that's where the concentration should be. And of course, we've seen a bit of sector rotation recently where you've gone more, I think, to away from that pure cyclical bias back to more of a fundamentally driven, maybe even a quality bias to what's been working. So the leadership patterns have been a little bit different in the past month. But I think from an earnings perspective, those cyclical areas and confirming that strength in the consensus estimates will be key to, I think, sustainability of the move more broadly in the market.
Lizanne, just finally, how do you view sentiment and positioning? Are there any signs that worry you on that front?
I think sentiment continues to be probably the biggest risk right now, given the strength in the market, and just about every measure of sentiment, whether it's behavioral measures or attitudinal measures, are in the very upper zones of optimism. That said, when breadth is healthy, which it is for the S&P, less so for small caps or the NASDAQ, that tends to be an offset to an otherwise risky sentiment environment. And I also mentioned that valuations have been improving by virtue of the power of the denominator in the case of the forward E. So I do worry about sentiment, but given the strength and breadth, you would probably need a pretty significant catalyst for sentiment to act as a contrarian indicator. In and of itself, it doesn't suggest that the market is going to move contrary to that sentiment.
Lizanne, great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Let's get over to Mike now for a look at tactical indicators and whether the market's looking overextended. Mike.
Yeah, Wolf actually just picks right up there on what Lizanne was talking about, because this indicator does combine many sentiment as well as sort of positioning and flow indicators. It's from Credit Suisse, from Andrew Garthwaite. What's interesting is this is kind of a net balance of what those indicators are saying. So obviously we're up near the highs in terms of people being very over-optimistic and pretty well exposed to the market. But these circles show the times when things have been at similar levels and either have been correct as a contrarian indicator and the next month was difficult for stocks, or have not been correct. So it worked in these instances. That's like 2018, where you did have a rocky period right after that. but did not work, for example, back in 2010, at least not immediately. So I think it's a good reminder that indicators like these are only one input. They basically tell you sort of the atmospheric conditions and whether the market might be able to withstand any kind of negative shock, better or worse, but they don't actually tell you what's going to happen, because often, the market continues to find strength from other places, and the good news just overwhelms whatever optimism has already been embedded in stock prices, guys.
It's a good tell, though. Mike, thank you. Stitch Fix shares have fallen sharply since the company announced a planned CEO transition just earlier this week. Well, up next, incoming CEO Elizabeth Spaulding will join us to talk about the stock's reaction and why the company decided now is the time for founder Katrina Lake to step away from that role. That's coming up on Closing Bell. Plus, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos issuing his last letter to shareholders before he steps down as CEO. Find out what he says the company needs to do better later on Closing Bell.
Born from discipline, consistency rewards. Columbia Threadneedle Investments.
Our Confident Forever plan is possible with a CFP professional.
A CFP professional can help you build a complete financial plan. Visit letsmakeaplan.org to find your CFP professional.
If you're thinking about going to school online, Southern New Hampshire University is where you belong. We've been online for more than 25 years and have helped thousands of students reach their goals. As a nonprofit university, we believe access to high-quality education should be available to everyone. That's why we offer some of the lowest tuition rates in the nation and haven't raised tuition in nearly a decade. So no matter where you want to go, SNHU can help you get there. Visit snhu.edu today.
This is delicious.
Wow, it's yummy.
Thank you very much.
Bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it.
What's in mine?
Yes, sir.
Done.
Yes.
So good.
This is sick.
Today is a good day.
It is a good day, yes, sir.
Shark Tank, tonight starting at 8 Eastern. CNBC, get yours.
The future of fitness isn't dumbbells. It's revolutionary digital weight that learns as you get stronger. So you can be your strongest. Tonal, now at 40 Nordstrom locations nationwide.
Tonight, Chicago bracing for protests over the police shooting of a 13-year-old boy. Plus, when you will likely need a vaccine booster shot.
The facts, the truth, the news with Shepard Smith, 7 Eastern, CNBC.
Stitch Fix shares continue to fall today, down more than 4%. This comes after founder Katrina Lake announced this week she will be stepping down as CEO in August, but will continue to work with the company as executive chair. Filling her shoes in the new role will be Elizabeth Spaulding. She joined the company last year, currently serves as president. Before joining the digital retailer, she spent 20 years with Bain, the consulting firm. And Elizabeth joins us now for a first on CNBC interview. Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Sarah. Great to be here.
It's good to see you. Look, the stock reaction from the investors and analysts I talked to, there was a bit of a surprise on the timing, not so much on your appointment, but on the timing of this announcement. Why now?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here. You know, it's an exciting week for us. It's obviously bittersweet. Katrina has had an extraordinary role at Stitch Fix and built this company over the last 10 years. And really the timing felt right. You know, COVID has accelerated everything for us as a business. And over the course of the last year, we've really been able to invest in our future. So much of our category has frankly struggled within the last year. As you think about apparel retail, you've got so many players that are burdened with debt, burdened with retail stores, and we've been frankly investing in our future. We've seen kind of every trend accelerate for our business. You know, if we think about where apparel was a year ago, about 25% was online, now it's 40%. And in the last 2 quarters, we've added more clients in those quarters than we did all of fiscal 20. And really, in terms of the acceleration of the business, it also accelerated kind of the roles for us as a leadership team. You know, deepens the relationship of any executives going through a crisis, but also really allowed Katrina and I to divide and conquer, and for me to play a role of shaping this next chapter and future of the business, to focus on the innovation within our model, and really set the table with our future team. We've had a new CFO join, a new Chief Product Officer, Dan Jetta, and Sharon Chiarella, and really we feel like the time is now, and we will officially make the transition August 1st at the beginning of our next fiscal year. And so really we've been playing these roles over the last several months, and Katrina frankly isn't going anywhere. I mean, she is an iconic leader. And she'll be our executive chairperson now. We kind of joke around, we'll be each other's bosses. She'll be the executive chairperson of the board, and she's actually staying on as an employee. You know, I think one of the ways she phrases it, if there were a few more hours in the week, like the work isn't done, she'll be focused very heavily around social impact, both on sustainability and the role that we can play in the apparel supply chain, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and things around brand partnerships and things that are really areas that are her strength. And so we kind of feel like we're getting the best of both, with each of us continuing to play a big role within the business.
You mentioned that the business is at a pivotal point. You've grown tremendously in terms of users and sales during the pandemic as people were at home, shopping at home, styling at home. How do you position this business, though, for a reopening of the economy when we can all get out of our homes?
No, absolutely. It's a great question, Sarah. I mean, I think what's been so exciting to us is we believe this is just a seismic shift in apparel retail. This has been a category that's been a little stickier. It's been sitting in stores longer than a lot of other e-commerce. And part of it is the occasions that have been left are those, I'm not sure exactly what I want, those browse and discover occasions, the things that you're looking for. And that is really the model that Stitch Fix has been made for, and why we think we've seen such great consumer growth. You know, 50% growth in our new clients year on year, last quarter alone, our strongest January on record. And to your point, you know, consumers are now starting to come back. And we've seen that, frankly, in a lot of our data, is the markets where there has been more reopening are actually growing even faster than our markets where things have been more closed. And so the way that we're preparing for it is really this focus on continuing to expand our model. I think, Sarah, you've gotten a fix in the past. Our core model has been this really, I would love to hear about it. It's this really unique model where you tell us a little bit of information, and then we use the power of our data science and our algorithms together with the human touch of our stylist to just send you a handful of items, sight unseen, and you keep what you love, send back what you don't. And that's been a hugely successful model. We've sold $7 billion worth of clothes sight unseen. We now have 4 million active clients. And that model is very powerful, but we see the ability to now extend the core engine of that, which is personalization, data, and human touch, to bring shopping to our customers in addition to this fixed model. And so that is a big focus of our innovation now.
No, I tried it a few times to see what it was all about. I returned everything on the first shipment and then kept everything on the second, which I don't know how typical that was, but the personalization really works once you pick up on that consumer data. Elizabeth, the outlook, though, disappointed last quarter, and there were some problems with delivery, shipment. There's also a lot of anticipation of this new service that I know you've helped shape to sell to non-Stitch Fix customers. So just give investors an update after what was a sharp slide in the stock for the picture you painted for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we're really optimistic about where we're headed. There were, of course, some unexpected things last quarter. I think the biggest impact for us last quarter was around this notion of carrier delays, which with our model in particular, we don't recognize revenue till after a consumer checks out of their fix rather than upon shipping. And so that had a big impact for us as we think about that glut of shipping that occurred during the holiday season. But as I mentioned, our 50% year-on-year adds of clients, we still feel great about where we're headed and the growth and migration to our model. And really the focus, to your point, is on this new idea of shopping. Imagine, Sarah, you got that last fix that you were describing, you kept 5 items. Well, now you can open up our app and you can look at what are the outfits that go with that. You can look through our Shop Your Look speed that will have outfits in context of, maybe a great top that you kept. What are all the other things that can go with it? Or maybe you don't, know exactly what you want to go with something, but now you want to just shop a particular category. We have a lot of consumers looking for things for spring and finally going out again. And so what this experience is, it's really taking that idea of what our fixed model has been, but it's almost like the streaming on-demand version of it, where you can see just personalized looks for you and items for you. And we recently launched for our active clients this category-based shopping, which will be the underpinning for our launch for new customers who can start with shopping and not just a fix over the next few months. And it's just fundamentally different than how we all think about shopping, which is typically search, scroll, filter, hope it'll fit you. Everything in our shopping experience is sized right for you. It represents your personal style preferences based on our understanding of a little bit of the data that you give to us, but also taking advantage of those 4 million other customers we have to understand kind of your underlying style preferences. And so that, we believe really unlocks the entire market for us and what we're so excited about launching in the next several months.
You're going to bring your folks back to work? When you join as CEO in August, thousands of workers still at home?
It's a great question. We will do what's right. We've, of course, been following all the CDC guidelines and understanding where that's at. And frankly, our model already had a lot of distributed work pre-COVID. And if anything, I think everyone's appreciated the flexibility of this, probably in the future, more of a hybrid model. So we will definitely open our offices. We've told people they can plan in September at this point. But we would imagine there'll be more of a mix of work from home and work in the office in the future.
Well, congratulations on the appointment of CEO. We look forward to talking to you between now and then.
Great.
Elizabeth Spaulding.
Thanks, Sarah.
From Stitch Fix.
Meanwhile, we've got news on the NFL and sports betting. Contessa Brewer's got it for us. Hi, Contessa.
Hi there, Wilfred. The National Football League is spreading the wealth among 3 companies, getting the benefit of exclusive partnerships with the NFL ahead of football season kicking off again. And of course, we've got the draft coming up as well. It's with FanDuel, it's with Caesars, and it's with DraftKings. They'll have exclusive rights to content with NFL, the ability to place content with the NFL and place NFL content within their casinos, for instance, for Caesars, or within their apps. And DraftKings becomes the exclusive partner for fantasy sports as well. You can see DraftKings up about 3%. Caesars not moving quite as much. And of course, Flutter owns FanDuel at this point. But big news on the football front, of course, the Super Bowl is the single biggest sporting event in terms of gambling of the season, and March Madness, which just ended, the biggest tournament overall for gambling. So this is an exciting year. We're seeing expansions across the nation, guys, as more states continue to permit sports betting.
Contessa, thanks so much for that. DraftKings up 3.5%. Citi announcing it's exiting 13 international consumer banking markets as part of new CEO Jane Frazier's turnaround plan. Coming up, Wells Fargo Banks analyst Mike Mayer will join us to weigh in on that. It's a move that he's been calling for some time. We'll see if he was pleased with it.
The world around you may seem like an immovable, implacable place. It is not. It can be bright, quiet, and safe. It's a change that'll be felt from this street to no street, and everywhere in between. All it takes is the slightest push in just the right place, and that will be the tipping point that changes everything.
digital world demands digital currencies. Unlock the potential of Bitcoin with Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, the world's largest Bitcoin investment vehicle. Go digital. Go Grayscale.
The pursuit is on. The pursuit of outperformance at PGIM, with deep expertise to outthink across multiple asset classes. Actively managing investments in the world's public and private markets. Outscale, with the resources to serve 1,500 clients in 52 countries. And outlast, with long-term conviction that looks beyond today's volatility. Join the pursuit of outperformance at PGIM, the investment management business of Prudential.
All right, I'm getting in the car now. I'll see you soon.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Whoa! Lisa?
Sorry, I dropped ya.
It's really dark down here. Oh, there's some change down here, too.
Don't let this happen to you. With removable cups, the WeatherTech Cup Foam fits virtually any size cup holder and adjusts to secure virtually any size phone, tilts for perfect viewing, and even allows easy access while charging.
That's better.
Order your American-made cup phone today at WeatherTech.com.
Stay restless with the icon that does the same. The RX, crafted by Lexus.
Lease the 2021 RX 350 for $439 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Not everything was built to support a big guy like me. Luckily, I found footwear that gives me the support I need. Try Skechers Arch Fit footwear with podiatrist-certified arch support.
Time for a CNBC News update with Rahel Solomon. Hey, Rahel.
Hi, Wolf. Hello, everyone. R. Kelly is set to go on trial for sex trafficking this summer. A judge has approved his transfer from Chicago to New York City and set an August 9th court date. And the trial has been delayed several times because of the pandemic. In Massachusetts, people stood in the rain to honor fallen Capitol Hill police officer William Evans. A procession led the hearse carrying Evans through the town of Adams to the cemetery where he will be buried. The San Antonio International Airport is on lockdown. City police there say that an officer-involved shooting happened there at the airport, but that there is no threat to the public. The NBC affiliate reporting that people in the airport are being told to shelter in place. And staying in Texas and Abilene, police are looking for a suspect who robbed a convenience store at gunpoint while wearing a gorilla mask. Police have not disclosed when the heist occurred or how much money was taken, but apparently if you can somehow identify that person, there is the potential for a cash reward. Sarah, if you can figure out based on their clothes
hard
who that
to
person
see.
is.
Yeah, no.
I'll send it back to
That
you.
would be hard. Rahel, thank you. Rahel Solomon. Up next, hedge fund manager David Einhorn firing the opening salvo in what could be a war of words with Elon Musk and Chamath Palihapitiya. Find out what he said and why after this break.
CNBC News Update is sponsored by Comcast Business. Bounce forward at ComcastBusiness.com.
Wealth is your first big investment. Worth is a partner to help share the load. Wealth is saving a little extra. Worth is knowing it's never too late to start. Or too early. Wealth helps you retire. Worth is knowing why. Principal, for all it's worth.
You need a financial plan that fits the way you want to live in retirement. A plan that can help grow and protect your money, now or in the future. With an annuity in your plan to help cover essential expenses, you can live the retirement you want. The right financial professional can show you how. This is what an annuity can do.
We are on a mission to make the United States of America the safest country in the world. It is an audacious goal. But since when in our country do we shy away from what is hard, what is difficult, and what is impossible? We are Americans. The world is going to change more in the next 10 years than the last 100 years combined. Because we, together, are going to change it.
I've never gone this fast before. I can't believe what I'm experiencing.
Knowing how competitive he is, and that's why he's so good. Amongst the fire, he has this calm.
This was my dream.
Looking to refinance your mortgage? The first thing you want to do, find out how much your home is worth.
Just go to ownerly.com, enter the address, and see the home value. Come to ownerly.com and see what your home is worth for free.
The Ridge wallet does a lot more than a typical wallet. It's small and modern, expands to hold cards and cash. It's made of military-grade materials, comes in 12 colors with a cash strap or a money clip. It blocks RFID, has a lifetime warranty and free shipping and returns. Order it today at Ridge.com.
If you're tired and you know it, skip the gym.
If you're anxious and you know it, take a break.
If your heart rate variability is 50 and your body temperature's normal.
If your breathing rate is optimal and you know it,
bring it on.
Aura. Know why you feel how you feel.
Last hour, we told you about a short report from Scorpion Capital that sent shares of QuantumScape falling today. Well, QuantumScape just released a series of tweets after hours to respond to that report, saying, quote, QS stands by its data, which speaks for itself. We have provided higher transparency than any other solid-state battery effort we are aware of, with current details on current density, temp, etc. The company goes on to say, quote, we have work to do, so this will be our last comment on this topic. We will get back to work now and continue to let our execution speak for itself. The stock did trade sharply lower today, down double digits, though Scorpion, I will say, Wilfred, not super well known, though it did have an impact. Stock's up 3% after hours.
Up 3% or so, as you say. Greenlight Capital's David Einhorn slamming Elon Musk and Chamath Palihapitiya for their roles in the GameStop trading saga. Leslie Picker has that story for us. Hi, Leslie.
Hey, Wilf, that's right. Musk, Palihapitiya facing the ire of Einhorn. The hedge fund manager wrote in his quarterly letter that Musk's tweets and Palihapa's TV appearance, quote, further destabilized the volatility in GameStop at a, quote, critical time. On January 26, Palihapitiya tweeted that he bought GameStop calls, and Musk later tweeted on that same day, Game Stonk. Shares of the video game retailer surged to their peak of about $350 a share the following day. Palihapitiya also appeared on CNBC to discuss GameStop following those options purchases. Now, a longtime Tesla baron, Elon Musk critic Einhorn notes that if regulators wanted Musk to, quote, stop manipulating stocks, they should have done so with more than a light slap on the wrist when they accused him of manipulating Tesla's shares in 2018. Einhorn goes on to say, quote, the laws don't apply to him and he can do whatever he wants, in reference to Musk. Neither Musk nor Palihapitiya responded to our requests seeking comment, guys.
Leslie, a lot of history there and beef, but God, it was a crazy period of time. That summary brings it all back. Thank you very much. Up next, Citigroup's international shift. The lender planning to exit retail banking in 13 overseas markets. We'll break down what that could mean for the stock with bank analyst Mike Mayo. That's coming up next on Closing Bell.
Heading into retirement, you want to follow your passions. Bright House Smart Care is a hybrid life insurance and long-term care product. It protects your family while providing long-term care coverage should you need it. Talk to your advisor. Bright House Financial. Build for what's ahead.
I look for the WELL Health Safety Seal at my favorite places.
It means health and safety measures have met rigorous scientific standards.
Look for the WELL Seal.
Look for the WELL Health Safety Seal outside and feel safer going inside.
When the future first arrives, we often don't recognize it. Interactive Brokers founder Thomas Peterffy brought the future to the floor of the American Stock Exchange in 1983. The company had fabricated Wall Street's first mobile computer, and it changed finance forever. Today, Interactive Brokers continues to push finance forward by building the latest technology you need to increase your success. Move your account to Interactive Brokers.
So, what's your plan for retirement? See the world? See the grandkids? Keep doing what you love? However you plan to retire, you need to be prepared. Do you have a financial plan? Do you have a tax strategy? How much of your portfolio can you afford to withdraw? Learn more about these and 96 other retirement topics coming your way in this free guide from Fisher Investments.
If your portfolio is over $500,000, call for Fisher's 99 Retirement Tips. Our free guide shows you how to make your retirement more secure, even in volatile times like these. Call 1-800-940-1144. We'll also send you a timely bonus for a world upended by uncertainty. Fisher's Stock Market Outlook shows you where we believe this market is going and why. Get the insight you need right now. Call for your 2 free guides. 1-800-940-1144.
Don't just retire. Retire well.
We've been at this for a year. Juggling, struggling, winning, and losing. But the light is ahead, and it invites us not to go back to where we left off, but to break through, to redefine how we relate, to reinvent the way we work, and reimagine how we communicate. This is our moment to build something new.
Citi announcing today that they're pulling out of 30 markets in their global consumer bank, including China, India, Korea, Australia, and Russia. They'll now operate out of just 4 wealth hubs in Asia and Europe. Those are London, UAE, Hong Kong, and Singapore. They remain fully committed in all markets in the institutional business, and they're not wasting any time here, as CEO Jane Fraser explained on the call.
We're already getting going, and there's no dilly-dallying here. What we're looking at doing is we've begun the work. The actions are underway in several markets. We'll look to complete the exits in a timely fashion, and we expect to be out in some markets this quarter.
Joining us on the phone, Mike Mayo, Senior Banking Analyst with Wells Fargo. Mike, great to have you with us. I mean, you've been calling, I guess, for Citi to focus their business a little more in recent years. Do you welcome this news today?
Well, there's a new CEO at Citigroup, and her name is Jane Change Agent Fraser. This is great. I mean, she's probably the biggest change agent at Citigroup since Sandy Weill, or over 15 years ago. This is a bold move. She's just day 46 on the job, and she's announcing the shedding of assets in 13 countries, a restructuring of the global private wealth business, and importantly, she sets a tone at the top for a sense of urgency. I love that clip. No dilly-dallying around here. So I read from this memo to Citi's 200,000 employees, your life is about to change. I mean, it's her way, her team's way, or the highway. It's clear that she is a woman on a mission. I mean, 9 minutes into the earnings call today with the analysts, she said, quote, a fundamental transition is what's going to take place. And the game plan, this was just the start. We're going to get more details later this year. So I love this start so short in her tenure. So I'm optimistic, but also cognizant of the failures at Citigroup since they were formed in late 1998. The performance of Citigroup strategically, financially, execution, culturally, reputationally, has been pitiful. This has been a failed experiment for the past 22 years. So I'm more hopeful than I've been in the last 15 years that maybe she can be the change agent that'll help turn Citi around.
Obviously, with change comes some execution risk, but the valuation is at a discount to some of the other rivals. Does that valuation make it a top pick for you, or is the execution risk something that still concerns you relative to some of the other big cap banks?
You know, Citi has to define who they want to be when they grow up. In other words, Jane Fraser today said they will define their identity, and that's something that they're working on. I mean, they could be a global processing leader. I mean, that's over 1/3 of their revenues. If you look at their wholesale and retail payments business, they could do all sorts of things. But I like the stock. We recommend the stock at Wells Fargo Securities. And more than anything else, tangible book value is $75. The stock price is $72. They can buy back probably 4% of their stock, 3% just in the next quarter. The sales of these assets can free up enough to buy another 5% of stock. When you buy back stock below tangible book value, that's accretive to tangible book value, not to mention book value. So one of the best investments of Citi's money is in its own stock. So it's just ridiculously inexpensive. It's priced as if we're going into a recession, but we're coming out of a recession. They're selling assets probably at a gain. and they have this change agent who can potentially, create a longer-term story. But the short-term story is still there for Citi and all the banks. Credit is improving far more than anyone had expected. Capital markets are stronger for longer. And the yield curve, even with the decline in yields today, still helps out in the future. And, Citi said so much.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us and jumping on the phone. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still to come, Amazon's Jeff Bezos issuing his final shareholder letter as the company's CEO. The big change he's calling for when Closing Bell comes right back.
Consistency is a common thread that delivers insights, not reactions. Solutions, not excuses. Experience the difference consistency makes. Experience Columbia Threadneedle Investments.
There's a master bedroom. Office.
A workout room. I get my treadmill, add some weights, and then...
It's a nursery.
Nursery?
At Amica, we believe in life's extraordinary experiences, so much so that we built a company around it. With every phone call, every quote, every claim, we're an insurance company that delivers an experience that meets the only standards higher than ours. Yours. Experience Amica. Auto, home, and life insurance.
Did you know that Petco is now a health and wellness company?
Their groomers work wonders for my confidence.
I trust their vets, and I'm known to have trust issues.
They deliver high-quality food the same day.
I was outside digging. What'd I miss?
Just everything regarding our physical, social, and mental health.
Exciting. I'm gonna take a spin around the room.
Great idea.
Petco, the health and wellness company.
Bank earnings are always hard to get your head around. The headlines are a dice roll, and there are lots of dice rollers out there who could immediately be disappointed. So call me concerned that this red-hot group could hurt the tenor of the earnings season. Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
Meet Glowforge, the 3D laser printer. Create with wood, fabric, cardboard, whatever's laying around the house. This is Glowforge, and it can be yours. See more at glowforge.com.
When you've got a health concern, there's searching the internet, and there's science. There's surprise bills, and there's knowing what you're gonna pay. There's a lab test on your own schedule from home. There's physician-reviewed results you can understand. Everlywell, demand better for your body.
Got a to-do list that just goes on and on and on? Download Thumbtack. It's the app that finds you local pros for any home project, like people to fix the plumbing, or freshen up old paint, or help you deal with all those boxes. Thumbtack instantly finds local pros for you. It shows you prices and reviews so you can hire exactly who you need. Download the app and start your next project today. Thumbtack.
NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal announcing new board members for his charity, the Shaquille O'Neal Foundation, to further its aim to help underserved communities. I caught up with Shaq to talk about the announcement.
Partner with two organizations that are close to my heart, the Boys and Girls Club and the Communities and Schools. And we're going to start off doing that in two cities, Atlanta and Las Vegas. I picked those cities because those are the cities I spend most of my time in. And, I wanted to have my friends on the board with me because Dwight Eisenhower said the greatest of leaders are the ones smart enough to hire people smarter than them. And everybody that I picked for my board is much smarter than me, way more successful than I am, and they're who I consider friends.
One of the new board members is Endeavor President Mark Shapiro. I asked him if he'd like to see more done, not just at the charity level, but the corporate level.
The only way that we're going to really open up lanes and open doors for the underrepresented is to truly bring in individuals that have a role at the senior level of companies. I'm talking decision-making, authority, control, power. When you see folks from the underrepresented areas getting hired at those kinds of levels, that's where it's really going to make a difference. Don't get me wrong. Great to hire entry level, great to get more numbers in there, but it's got to happen, at the senior ranks for change to truly be meaningful.
Finally, I asked Shaq to weigh in on the corporate backlash surrounding the Georgia voting laws.
The law puts certain people at a disadvantage, especially the African American people. But we just have to continue fighting. It just surprised me that 12 to 15 guys just sat down and thought about certain things, like you can't have food and drinks, and you can't do this and you can't do that. It's kind of disappointing.
Shaquille O'Neal and Mark Shapiro there, Sarah, with new announcements to Shaq's Foundation's board.
Up next on the show, the State of the Union. Jeff Bezos issuing his last letter as CEO to Amazon shareholders and drawing attention for his comments about workers in light of the failed union vote. What he said when closing bell comes right back.
Bender, take one.
Tonight's matchup, me versus an ugly fender bender. If I can eke out a win, it's going to be a miracle, baby.
Mr. Vitale, it wouldn't be a miracle because Geico gives you a team of experts to help manage your claim.
It's going to be a nail-biter.
No, the Geico team is there for you 24/7.
Geico is awesome, baby. Too much?
I think we got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
Okay, I'm awake.
Let's do this, Smudge.
Let's dance. Oh, man, we're gonna have some fun today. Let's go.
Say it with me now.
Hinge, squeeze.
Stay with me.
Here, I'm with you.
5, 4, sprint to your finish. You did that, Palatine. Until next time. Whew. In Bessemer, no, he doesn't. I think we need to do a better job for our employees. Now, for decades, guys, Amazon has put customers unapologetically first, and that's led to its extreme efficiency, but also perhaps some of the tough labor practices that Amazon has been accused of. Andy Jassy, as incoming CEO, he will have to thread that balance. Now, Bezos also updated some key numbers. Prime memberships now stand at 200 million, an increase of 50 million last year. He also gave us some numbers on content in the annual report, disclosing it spent $11 billion on video and music content last year, up from $7.8 billion the previous year. And to put that into context, Wilf and Sarah, Netflix spent $17 billion on content in 2020. Back to you.
Amazing what he has built. It's a really good read for a shareholder letter. Deirdre, thank you. Deirdre Bosa. Stocks finished at record highs. We're talking about the S&P and the Dow. We've got more earnings on deck. Wilfred will be covering Morgan Stanley. We've also got PNC, and we're going to talk to the CEO of PNC, find out how the regional lenders are faring with the rebound in the economy. Mike, what will you be watching?
Well, honestly, the way the market, specifically the bond market, whether this was a one-day kind of a spasm of short covering that got yields compressed the way they did right now, which enabled it to be a NASDAQ-led day, that's been the dynamic for a while right now. We'll see if that relaxes at all tomorrow. But the earnings picture in general has really supported the idea that there's still upside to 2021 full-year forecast, in which case it kind of dampens the issues with valuation that many people have been concerned about with this market. And so far, I think it's sort of underwriting the optimist point of view, even though stock market's up 5% in April and over 10% year to date.
Yeah, and Morgan Stanley, as we said, 7:30 tomorrow. BlackRock was strong. Goldman Sachs was strong. Together, that should bode well for Morgan Stanley. Will be interesting to see just how strong their capital markets are, certainly relative to those Goldman Sachs numbers. They're 7:30 tomorrow, and as Sarah said, record closes again. S&P 500 up at its session high, pretty much 1.1% higher. We're out of time here on Closing Bell. Thanks for watching. Fast Money starts now.
I'm Melissa Lee, and this is Fast Money. Tonight's trader lineup: Guy Adami, Karen Feinerman, Bonawyn Eison, and Nadine Turman. Tonight on Fast, records fall on Wall Street. The Dow and S&P 500 closing at all-time highs. Coming up, we'll break down how our traders are playing the record run. Plus, slamming the brakes on QuantumScape. Shares plunge as the short seller calls the company a, quote, pump and dump scam that makes Theranos look like amateurs. You'll hear from the man behind that report. And attention, frequent flyers. We'll tell you what Delta just said about the future that could have this stock taking flight. But we start off with new developments in the Reddit rebellion. Remember when Chamath Palihapitiya and Elon Musk stepped in to defend GameStop a few months ago when shares went wild? Well, now David Einhorn is blasting the two for adding, quote, jet fuel to the fire. Let's get to Leslie Picker with the latest. Leslie.
Hey, Mel, that's right. Einhorn is really blasting the regulators. He believes they're allowing, quote, quasi-anarchy to rule the markets. And as one example, he points to tweets made by Chamath Palihapitiya and Elon Musk championing the Redditors. Einhorn says their comments at a, quote, critical moment further destabilized the situation with GameStop. As a reminder, on January 26th of this year, Palihapitiya tweeted that he bought GameStop calls. Musk later tweeted GameStonk on that same day. Shares of the video game retailer surged to their peak of about $350 a share the following day. They've never reached that level since then. Palihapitiya also appeared on CNBC to discuss GameStop. Neither responded to our request for comment in response to the Einhorn letter. Einhorn, though, of course, a longtime Tesla bear and Elon Musk critic, says, quote, the laws don't apply to him. He's referring to Musk there, and he can do whatever he wants. Now, I just got off the phone with a market regulatory expert who told me that it's hard to legally distinguish between the comments made by Musk and Palihapitiya on GameStop from those when Einhorn himself publicly comes out for or against a company. That said, this person notes that from an ethical standpoint, business celebrities do have a responsibility to think about how their words might impact the finances of those who follow them into a particular trade. I also just spoke with Amy Lynch, a former SEC and FINRA regulator, who says that regulators have not finished looking into trading surrounding GameStop just yet. So this story is not quite over, at least from the regulatory standpoint. Melissa.
Yep. Chapters continue to be written. Leslie, thank you, Leslie Picker. Anarchy in the eyes of David Einhorn, Guy, but freedom of speech in the eyes of others. What do you think?
Yeah, freedom of speech, absolutely. Listen, so right now, as we sit here, Tesla, there's a market cap of $700 billion-ish, right? He's the CEO of that company. He also has 50 million followers on Twitter. This is Elon Musk. Why on January 26th, after the market closes, like, what's the point of tweeting game stonks, 2 exclamation points? I mean, I'll use the word, it's asinine. Like, if it's sport, you know what, find a better sport. Go do shooting clays or something. But, you know, the stock that day closed at 147.98. 2 days later, it was trading 483, and it traded in a range of 112 to 483. Like, I don't understand that. It's not particularly funny. It's not particularly clever. And what purpose?
that's fuel to the fire. I
Right.
kind of do. So, I agree with Guy that it's I don't know, it's somewhat immature. I don't really know why he felt a need to do that, but also free speech, and he did say what he was doing. Full disclosure. If he hadn't said that, then I would feel differently.
Right. And disclosure is sort of interesting in this era of social media, stock influencers, and asset influencers. We see this time and time again, particularly within the crypto community. I mean, think about Dogecoin, for instance. And I just raise this because many people say there's nothing to Dogecoin, including the creator of Dogecoin. And yet all these celebrities come out and they tweet about Doge. And here we are with Doge. It has a massive market cap. And has gone up a lot this year because so many celebrities have gotten behind it. So we live in an era in which influencers have a big role. The question, though, Bonawyn, is there is no transparency surrounding these influencers. So as Karen had mentioned, you know, Chamath didn't go out of his way to disclose a position in SoFi, which could be construed as a competitor. There are all sorts of other things that are tangled up that we might not know about anybody who tweets about any sort of stock out there who have a position enough to influence how the stock trades.
Yeah, I think Karen makes a really good point in terms of disclosure, right? I think that was a critical point that was omitted or forgotten, or I don't know. It's hard for me to point fingers without knowing the full story, but I think that's just it, right? We're all essentially in a situation where these people do have influence. They are social influencers or celebrities, and they're using it to their advantage. And we've seen that from everything from our former president to other investors or speculators. So it's really hard for me to kind of part and parcel what exactly should or shouldn't happen. Yes, certainly it is adding fuel to the fire, but I think this whole GameStop situation is highlighting just the effect that social media is having on the stock market. And there's a lot of pushback there. To me, it speaks to the evolution of how information is going to be disseminated. GameStop is somewhat of a one-liner, not a lot of color around that. Clearly, I do think he knew what he was doing. But if investors are buying GameStop on a hashtag, I think you kind of assume that risk.
Nadine, I think it was interesting that Guy had mentioned, you know, that he thinks it was stupid or immature or whatever it is. Be that as it may, was anything wrong done, do you think?
Well, Mel, I think that number one, what Karen said, it's about disclosure. And two, what Bonawyn says is if you're going to play in the market and not play in a lot of information, you're assuming a risk and you should know what you're doing. So again, all for democratizing trading and investing, but at the same time, you know, it's up to you to decide how much capital you put at risk. And over time, I do believe the regulators will be looking into this. They will be probably firming up some rules around disclosure, as well as information and how you can trade, what you can trade, the leverage you get. So I think this is part of the evolution. It was just, as I think Bonawyn said, it's a bit of a data point, but there's been enough data points that I think that there will be changes.
All right. Let's turn now to today's blowout retail sales report and the bond market responding with this.
You're right. That's a fifth floor problem.
Not in my house.
That's right. Bond investors batting away inflation fears like Dikembe Mutombo bats away free throws in that Geico commercial. Yes, I did make a sports reference, and I actually do know who this guy is. Check out the reaction 10-year note following the second best retail sales report on record. Yields falling to their lowest level in more than a month, even as consumers armed with stimulus checks pump tons of money into the economy. So given today's action, is the bond market giving investors an all clear that inflation really is just temporary? Karen, you tweeted this almost right away. What was your take of this?
Confusion was my original take on it. And, you know, normally we would see retail numbers like that and you would think, okay, inflation. And we've talked a lot about the Fed talking about transitory inflation. And so I was wondering, all right, is that what the bond market's thinking here? So I turned to my friend Andy Constant, who helps me understand all things fixed income, and he was saying that, yes, the bond market may believe it's transitory, but also the VIX is down. And so risk premiums are down, so people want to take more risks. And one other thing happened. As rates went lower, that made the likelihood of mortgages refinancing go higher, and therefore those who owned a lot of mortgages, the duration of their book got shorter, so they needed to buy longer-term bonds. And that's what really started to move it later in the day. So it's kind of a circular effect there. It's still, I still have trouble completely getting my arms around it, but the basic bottom line is, you know, all risk assets, be in all risk assets, because the Fed is there. And, okay, we can't fight the Fed. You know, for me, I'm staying long, but when the VIX starts to trade down to this level, I have to look at buying more protection.
Yeah, 157, that allowed technology to do well, that allowed the S&P 500 to hit a record. Bonwin, what was your take on all this action?
Well, Karen's first point, I tend to agree with fully lockstep, right? You see these retail figures, and you would expect there to be a correlate to inflation. But what I will say is, you know, a lot of us were saying, listen, the volatility around this rate change that we've seen over the last, I don't know, 1 to 2 months has just been astronomical, and it seemed to be somewhat getting ahead of ourselves. And we've seen the same type of dynamic happen with corporate earnings, where there's a contrarian trade, it becomes crowded, everyone piles in, then the data is disseminated, and people tend to like either take profits or fade the move. And I think you saw that translate into the bond market today. I think we're in a bit of a range. I'm hesitant to say we're certainly out of the woods with inflation, but I do think it highlights exactly what the Fed is trying to get at, which is we're going to react to data that is long-standing in its presentation. And then there's also going to be some hiccups, as we've seen it with some of the COVID vaccines. Any semblance of us not having a linear path to reopening is going to have effects that reverberate through the market, and I think you saw that today. Yeah, and if you are a believer that rates are in a range, then, Nadine, this is a signal, right? I mean, if we are to believe, putting together what Bonwin just said, if there are a lot of shorts in the bond market to begin with, they covered today, maybe. And so what do you do now?
Sure. In fact, I laughed because I read a headline from RBC calling it the Costanza trade. And what did we do? We actually just shorted treasuries. So if you think yields are going to go up, as we do, I mean, everything from lumber to materials, you're seeing some labor pressure in services. It's a matter of time, in our opinion. It's less about supply, and it's also less about this retail number. I think everybody knew it was going to be a solid number. And so Bonwin's right that, yes, you saw some, whether it's profit taking or people taking some chips off the table here or covering some shorts. But over the intermediate term, there's a lot of pressure here. And some companies are pushing it through to consumers, but some have not yet. So we think that it's the intermediate term we're going to see it go up.
I mean, we heard from Pepsi that input costs are going up. Today, lumber guy, which I know you follow very closely, lumber futures hit a record. And I guess the question here is does transitory still have an impact on what businesses do? And is that a negative impact on the economy, regardless of how the Fed regards these blips in inflation?
It's fascinating. Look, first of all, I'm shocked that you knew who Dikembe Mutombo is. I want to say
even better. So the producer told me that was going to come up in the commercial. I said, oh yeah, didn't he play for UConn?
You know, you insult me when I know you're trying to tweak me, and anyway, you're not going to be successful.
Go ahead.
I mean, he's another great just one of the many, many great people to come out of Georgetown University, number one. Number two, look, if you had told me what these retail sales numbers, and then you said, okay, where 10-year yield's going to be at the end of the day, I would have said at least 1.85%. So once again, I would have been wrong. It's fascinating to me how well the bond market traded. To answer your question, I mean, at a certain point, everything's transitory, right? Because if prices get to a certain level, then sputter out, inflation, and Steve can speak to this, flattens out as well. I mean, there has to be a continuation in order for it to keep going higher. I'm not an economist. I don't pretend to be. I will tell you, as you mentioned, lumber prices through the roof. We heard Goldman Sachs talk about copper, I think, today, through the roof. Soft commodities, look at the grain market, through the roof. Gasoline going higher. All these things point to extraordinarily inflationary times, and yet we have a bond market that traded exactly the opposite today. Today's action in the bond market made zero sense to me. You can explain it to me 5 different ways, and Karen did a great job. It still doesn't make any sense to me.
Yes. Add soy, add corn on top of a labor shortage, so labor costs might be going higher. But let's bring in the aforementioned Steve Leisman, that is. Steve, what was your take on the market reaction to this report this morning?
I will tell you that I talked to a bunch of guys in the bond market, and they're kind of got one of those wow things going. They're just like a little bit out of breath. For the trade that happened, by the way, not only beginning at 8:30 this morning, but take a look at what happened after 3 o'clock. You've clawed back about half the gains in yields that you had from the drop from 8:30 this morning. So you went like 161, 162 down to 151. Now you're back to 158. So about half of those, the yield is clawed back there. What I've heard was this, beginning with the morning, actually the day before. As strong as retail was, Melissa, I heard that it could have been even stronger. And there was some concern or some talk on the street that you might be well into the double digits on the retail numbers. Some of the high frequency data we follow was pointing in that direction. Add to that, a lot of people got short the market in that, double digits on the retail numbers. Some of the high frequency data we follow was pointing in that direction. Add to the straight over then the was to let them get the court. Up the time for the court, they may have come back into buy together with the mortgage buying that was talked about earlier. So all those things combined, a bunch of guys short, a bunch of people coming back into the market. And actually the market is kind of thinly traded these days with the Fed doing a lot of the buying. So all of that combined into a big move. I mean, this was a pretty dramatic move. But does it mean that the inflationistas are finally vanquished? I think that the consensus on the market is that the inflation will be temporary. I don't think that's an outlying opinion anymore. I think that the Fed has embraced it, the market's embraced it, everybody's embraced it. So we're ready for a bit of a ride on the roller coaster, and we're not going to lose what's in our stomach in the process.
Steve, I've been thinking about this inflation issue a lot, which sounds odd. But in terms of
as much as you were thinking about the Dikembe Mutombo.
More. But in terms of inflation and how it's regarded as transitory, I mean, I feel like the same argument was made when there were tariffs, the threat of tariffs, when tariffs were put on. That impact, that price shock was viewed as transitory as well. And yet we did see that impact last longer, have impact on how businesses planned. And so it wasn't transitory, or even if it were transitory, it still had a big impact. And I'm wondering if we should maybe think about this inflation shock in the same way, because as Guy had mentioned, there are so many inputs that are reaching record highs here. We are also seeing, as we saw in the Beige Book, a labor shortage. We can't find people to fill these jobs. We might have to pay more. I mean, all these things add up, don't they?
They do, but really, when we talk about inflation rising, we're talking about the second derivative of the inflation calculation, which is itself a derivative. So let me put that into a little bit of English here. Well, I'm sure you get that, but the idea is you have a tariff, and the take on the tariffs was right, Melissa, a one-time upward shift in prices that did not repeat. So you did not have increasing inflation rate as a result of that. Same thing is believed to be true with what's coming now. You have supply shortages, disruptions. If you tell me we are not going to reestablish global trade links, if you tell me that suppliers are not going to solve their shortages problem, if you tell me that people who are out of work now are not coming back to work, then I think you may have the makings of a change in the inflationary mindset. But that's what it takes. If a one-time upward shift in the price level is not the kind of inflation the Federal Reserve would worry about. It hurts. It's not necessarily a nice thing to happen, especially if your wages don't go up along with it. But if it's just that one time, then that's okay, I guess is the best way to put it.
Karen, how do you think about it as it impacts the companies you're invested in, particularly as we've seen margin expansion over the past year thanks to the pandemic and cost cutting and getting smart and efficient, et cetera? Those margins look like they will start to diminish.
Yeah, it's important to me. The biggest sort of knee-jerk reaction some of the things I own have is financials, right? So we saw the 2-year, 10-year spread, which had really widened a lot, actually moved a lot today the other way. And so the banks, which everyone knew bank earnings were going to be great, so they responded some up, some down. But that, I think, weighed heavily on the banks today. But I'm wondering also, though, do we not give enough attention to some of the deflationary things like slowing population growth and increasing productivity? I don't know how to weigh those, but I think the ones that are apparent are inflationary, like lumber, like, grain, like all the things we're talking about. But Karen, I think there's another side to it as well.
Can I respond to that very quickly?
Yeah, last word, Steve.
I just want to respond to that very quickly. If you think about the amount of money the Fed is pumping out into the economy right now, you think about $120 billion a month in mortgage and bond purchases, zero interest rates, and we're kind of worried about we're going to get to 2% inflation. That maybe speaks to what Karen's talking about, the incredible deflationary forces still at work in the global economy.
Good point there. All right, Steve, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Leisman. Coming up, a pump and dump scam that makes Theranos look like amateurs. The scathing words sinking shares of QuantumScape today as a short seller takes aim. We will hear from the man behind that report and tell you what QuantumScape is saying in response. Plus, Ante Up shares of DraftKings jumping in the after hours as the company inks a sports betting deal with the NFL. The details and how to trade this name when Fast Money returns.
Cisco, the bridge to possible.
My retirement plan with Voya keeps me moving forward. They guide me with achievable steps that give me confidence. This is my granddaughter. She's cute like her grandpa. Voya doesn't just help me get to retirement, they're with me all the way through it.
Voya, be confident to and through retirement.
We started with computers. We didn't stop at computers. We didn't stop at storage or cloud. We kept going, working with our customers to enable a kind of technology that can guide an astronaut back to safety and help make a hospital come to you instead of you going to it. So when it comes to your business, we'll stop at nothing.
Welcome back to Fast Money. Shares of DraftKings jumping in the after hours. DraftKings, Caesars, and FanDuel inking brand new deals with the National Football League. DraftKings will become the league's official sports betting and daily fantasy sports partner, while Caesars will become its first ever casino sponsor. Caesars and FanDuel will also be allowed to use the league's exclusive data stream and integrate official highlights and footage into their platforms. Bonawyn, is this worth a 5% pop in DKNG?
Just 1 second while I tweet out draft stonk. Listen, I think this is actually, I think this is actually a pretty big deal here. It kind of expands the offerings. I think we've already spoken about the secular trend to online sports betting, and this partnership, this exclusivity, not just in daily daily fantasy betting, but also sports betting in general with the NFL. I think not just in daily fantasy betting, but also sports betting in general with the NFL. I think
employees indicate engineers and battery experts internally are highly skeptical of QuantumScape's claims, and they get nice PowerPoint slides and little else. QuantumScape putting out a response, though, within the past hour and a half, saying in part, QuantumScape stands by its data, which speaks for itself. We have provided higher transparency than any other solid-state battery effort we are aware of, with details on current density, temp, cycle life, cathode thickness, depth of discharge, cell area, pressure. We're joined now by Keir Kalan, the author of the short report and founder and chief investment officer of Scorpion Capital. Keir, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Melissa.
The headline of your report is certainly attention-grabbing. The irony is that some people might say that your report is also a pump-and-dump scam. So let's get that out of the way. You have a position, a short position, correct, in QuantumScape. How big is it? Are you short the stock? Are you short via options? Can you give us some more details? And whether or not you got out of your short position today in any way, shape, or form based on the fall in QuantumScape?
We have a substantial amount of risk and exposure related to this short. We don't disclose the size of the position, but our model at Scorpion is we tend to focus on larger cap shorts. Unless something is at least $5 billion in market cap, we don't typically focus on it, which is an indication of the level of risk and exposure that we like to take in our positions. We still have a short position. It's a very high conviction position. We did a lot of work on this name. And, we typically spend 3-4 months doing a lot of investigative due diligence. So, the kind of exposure that we take is really commensurate with the level of time and effort that we expend into each one of these activist campaigns.
Okay, so it's a big position for you. But just to be clear, did you get out of any of your position today? You released the report this morning. Did you take advantage of this decline in QuantumScape in any way?
We don't really comment on day-to-day trading activities. Okay. All that, just suffice to say that the level of exposure here is substantial. It remains substantial, and this is a extremely high conviction short thesis. And we don't really think of this as sort of like a in and out kind of a trade. This is a long-term fundamental thesis. Mm-hmm. There's a long history of companies like QuantumScape that have made exaggerated claims, particularly in the battery space, particularly in their niche in solid-state batteries. And, a lot of these companies that high-profile backers, that automotive companies were behind them, that famous venture capitalists were backing them.
Sure.
And it's actually surprising the large number of those companies that turned out to be flops. A lot of them turned out to be, we think, frauds. And we think that pattern of overhyped claims that has really characterized a lot of these companies in the battery space. We think that QuantumScape is a textbook example, and at some point people will look back on QuantumScape the same way they look at a lot of these companies that have come and gone. So,
right.
We think it's going to take some time to play out. This is not sort of a 1-2 day thing for us, and I'll just leave it there.
All right. Within your presentation, which is a very long slide deck, I think it's like 160 pages or so, you actually cited, in part, you had a screen grab of an interview that the CEO, Jagdeep Singh, did recently on CNBC on Mad Money. I want to play that soundbite and then get to some of the claims about the technology, because that is at the heart of the short selling report.
We've tried to say what we're going to do and then do what we say we're going to do. And, obviously in December, we announced the performance data from ourselves, which was pretty amazing data, if we say so ourselves, very, very exciting for the industry. Followed it up, obviously, in February on our earnings call with the multi-layer results, which was a big milestone. I don't think folks were expecting it that early.
So Jagdeep just cited a slide deck from a December battery report that they had done, and you actually cite some of those slides within your short selling report. I want to pull up one of the slides, which is on page 94 of your report for those following along at home, and it's battery life. And you actually, the reason why I picked up on this slide, Keir, is that QuantumScape had this particular slide within their response to your report, and yet you had this slide within your report. So it seems like you both are showing the same slide and reaching wildly different conclusions. So the point that you're making here is, if you look at the green print at the bottom corner, left corner of the screen there, in the chart, you make the point that they're saying 1C charged and discharge. What are you drawing at the conclusion of? Because they're saying that means that the battery life is an hour. What are you saying?
So I'm not sure exactly which slide you're referring to, but there are two technical claims that they make related to cycle life. And you're right. So they had a data presentation in December where they laid out 5 or 6 key technical claims. In our report, systematically investigated each one of those by talking to former employees of the company. We talked to people in the EV battery group of Volkswagen, which is QuantumScape's partner in the source of the validation of technology. And as we went through each of those claims, including the battery life claims I'll comment on in just one second, they didn't really stand up to scrutiny. And on cycle life, they make 2 kinds of claims, right? And just kind of step back for a second. Cycle life is a very important parameter for a battery, right? A battery has to last. So it has to last for typically 800 to 1,000 charge cycles, 200, 300,000 miles. And it also has to be able to do that in cold weather, right? So you have to show 2 kinds of cycle life. And when we looked at the data that QuantumScape shows, there are huge red flags. So one of the standard measures of cycle life is something that's called Coulombic efficiency. There is nobody who does credible battery research who doesn't use that metric to talk about the cycle life of their cell. And there are experts that we talked to that commented on they made comments like there's no slide in their entire presentation where they talk about cycle life, where they use the one metric that everybody in the industry uses to actually back it up.
So it sounds like you did a lot of work. You referred to it with a lot of experts to get their takes. And when I looked through the report, I didn't see you actually name a lot of the experts. And you do concede in sort of the caveats of your report that you spoke to a lot of former employees or people who were formerly connected with QuantumScape or Volkswagen, but they are separated from the company. And so some of the data that they are citing, some of the things that they're talking about may be, in fact, dated. Why wouldn't you give us the names of the battery experts that you consulted with in terms of, poking holes within QuantumScape's claims? That would seem to be the best way to sort of say, this is the expert. Here's what he said. You decide, instead of distilling it and saying, according to an expert.
Yeah, so there are several reasons. So, just to step back for a second, right? The kind of work that we do tends to be very thorough. So we talked to 9 former employees of the company. And, whether the employees left, 6 months ago, whether they left 3 months ago or a year ago, the science is the science, right? There's certain scientific parameters you have to hit for your claim to be credible. That doesn't really change over the span of a few months. And the battery experts that we talk to are some of the leading researchers in the field, right? I mean, we respect their confidentiality. Short selling can sometimes be controversial. People don't want their names in a report, but the people we talk to are highly published. These are people that are professors of very credible institutions. They're well known in the battery world. And the other reason that, we want to be very careful about mentioning the names of people is, there's one expert that we talked to who made a very innocuous, critical comment about the company in a public forum. And that expert described receiving some interesting communication from the company that, the expert found very distressing. So I think there's this Theranos-esque like climate around the company. I think Theranos is actually a very good analogy to describe the kinds of claims that the company's making, the fact that they don't stand up to scrutiny. There are a lot of those Theranos-esque kinds of dynamics. Right. And, when you do this kind of research in this kind of a situation, you have to be very careful.
Sure. We're just about out of time here, but I do want to ask you one last question, and that is, you said this is a long, high conviction, a long trade that you're in. And you make the comparison time and time again to Theranos throughout the report, throughout this interview. Does it end that way? Because that's an extreme way to end. Theranos went up in smoke, basically, and the founder of Theranos was on trial. Is that how you see this ending?
Whether people end up on trial, I have no idea. What I can tell you is, as far as the company having a viable technology on the market, in a car, We just don't think that's realistic. If you look at the battery companies, the solid-state battery companies that the same lead investors in this company have backed, they're generally ones that, in fact, I think pretty much all of them went nowhere. So we don't think it's going to be very surprising QuantumScape ends up being another one of those companies. So I don't think it's extreme at all. I mean, if you have a technology that doesn't stand up to scrutiny, and you're doing tests in a way that are cherry-picked, that are not industry standard, they're very unusual, that exhibit all kinds of red flags, I think that is suggestive of a technology that may not be viable. And those kinds of companies tend to go away.
Keir, we appreciate your time. Thank you. Keep us posted. Keir Cologne of Scorpion Capital. We should note we also extended an invite for the QuantumScape CEO to join us. He was unavailable tonight, but the offer still stands for him to join us or CNBC in the future. So let's trade this. Guy, we should note that QuantumScape right now up 1.3% in the after-hour session. What do you make of this whole thing?
Yeah, so I was going to say, Keir, listen, I never heard of his firm, number one. I didn't read the report, number two, and I can't speak intelligently about QuantumScape, number three. This is what I do know. I admire his temerity for putting this out. They clearly did thorough work, but we live in an environment where somebody, getting back to the top of the show, tomorrow somebody could tweet quantum of solace, quantum physics with little rocket ships, and this stock could be up 10 or 15%, and all the work they've done could be for naught. That would be my question. In this environment, is it worth coming out that way? So again, I just find it fascinating, and I'm going to watch very carefully over the next couple of weeks to see what transpires. But that's what I'd be watching for.
Yeah, when this report hit this morning, the first thing I thought of, Karen, is that this is the third short seller report, at least that I know of, that went after a SPAC in the EV space specifically. And I thought, what's going on here? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought that too. First of all, I think they may have been insulting to Theranos. Theranos did a bang-up job as anybody on a fraudulent, enterprise. But not saying this is that. But I thought that too. And I'm wondering, is it because, I don't have any long, short, any skin in the game in the EV battery business. Is it because it's very difficult for retail investors to understand, or it would be for me to understand, cycle life and some of the other things he cited? I don't even know what the metrics are that he cited. And so does that lack of retail experience or retail knowledge in the space make it ripe for fluff, let's say, when they describe how and then in the larger space, the EVs are really exciting. That's happening. We're switching to EV, world. We know that. So the macro's there, and maybe people just sort of hope on the micro. I have no opinion about this company. I don't know, but I thought that exact same thing. We're on the same wavelength there, Missy.
Yep. All right, coming up. Losing altitude, shares of Delta dropping today despite some optimistic comments from the airline CEO. What it means for the trade, plus the semi-surge. Shares of NVIDIA rallying today on the back of a big upgrade. So is this name the ultimate chip play? We've got that and much more when Fast Money returns.
Wealth is breaking ground on your biggest project yet. Worth is giving the people who build it a solid foundation. Wealth is shutting down the office for Mike's retirement party. Worth is giving the employee who spent half his life with you a party of a lifetime. Wealth is watching your business grow. Worth is watching your employees grow with it. Principal, for all it's worth.
Did you know that Petco is now a health and wellness company?
Their groomers work wonders for my confidence.
I trust their vets, and I'm known to have trust issues.
They deliver high-quality food the same day.
I was outside digging. What'd I miss?
Just everything regarding our physical, social, and mental health.
Exciting. I'm gonna take a spin around the room.
Great idea.
Petco, the health and wellness company.
At Empower Retirement, we help you open doors that get you ready for everything that lies ahead. Because your financial wellness is what matters most. Behind every door is an opportunity to save for life's moments. So proud of you. These are your goals, and it's time to help get you there. We've been opening doors for more than 12 million customers across America as they save for the future they want. We are Empower Retirement, and we're ready to open some doors for you.
Tonight, Chicago bracing for protests over the police shooting of a 13-year-old boy. Plus, when you will likely need a vaccine booster shot.
The facts, the truth, the news with Shepard Smith, 7 Eastern, CNBC.
Something's bothering my stomach. I could cut out a lot of foods or figure out what's actually bothering me before removing and adding back. I'll do that.
Got a to-do list that just goes on and on and on? Download Thumbtack. It's the app that finds you local pros for any home project, like people to fix the plumbing, or freshen up old paint, or help you deal with all those boxes. Thumbtack instantly finds local pros for you. It shows you prices and reviews so you can hire exactly who you need. Download the app and start your next project today. Thumbtack.
Looking to refinance your mortgage? The first thing you want to do, find out how much your home is worth.
Just go to Ownerly.com, enter the address, and see the home value. Come to Ownerly.com and see what your home is worth for free.
Welcome back to Fast Money. Delta shares down nearly 3% today after the airline reported earnings. Phil LeBeau's got the details. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Melissa, the reason Delta shares were lower, a couple of things. One, a wider than expected loss for Q1. But two, the guidance for Q2 on the revenue side may have been a little light of what some people were expecting. So that put the pressure on shares of Delta today. Let's talk about the optimism that was there not only in terms of the analyst call, the outlook, as well as our interview with Ed Bastian this morning on Squawk Box, when we talked about what to expect for Q2. A couple of things stand out. Cash bookings have doubled from January to March. So they are clearly seeing the near-term bookings accelerating. They expect to be break-even by the end of June and then break-even in the third quarter. Travel credits, you know, that's people who have booked the ticket in the past. They didn't take it because of COVID-19 restrictions. That's now just 10 to 15% of their bookings. Leisure travel is now 85% of the 2019 level. So it's only down 15% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Here is Ed Bastian talking about the other important component in the future, bringing back business travel.
I'm expecting that we're going to start seeing offices reopen this summer. I think by fall, we're going to see a pretty significant bump in business travel starting back. People need to get back to their customers. They need to get back to their own people, get out to the marketplace, continue to drive their businesses forward. I know here at Delta, we're planning on reopening our campus officially in the month of June.
If you take a look at shares of Delta, keep in mind that there are two parts of the business that they're basically half the business that is under pressure right now. Business travel as well as international. He talked about business on the international side. Don't expect anything anytime soon. And that's not just for Delta, that's for all the airlines. And by the way, when you talk with the executives, almost all of them say the same thing. Look for the UK to open first before you see the EU opening up. And again, that's not expected to happen anytime soon. You got 4 earnings reports for the airline industry next week. You got American, Alaska, Southwest, and United. So we will get a better sense of what their outlook is in terms of the path to profitability next week. Melissa, back to you.
Phil, thanks. Phil LeBeau for us. Nadine, do you have a position in airlines?
We do. We would take a flyer on Delta. And if they can generate some cash in June, they have mentioned some non-fuel costs going up, but we think that this is a bit of a coiled spring. And it's trading at the low end of our trading range right now at 46 and change, which implies for our high end about 7 to 8% upside on a near term. So we like this type of name where there's a lot of negativity already baked in. It's really about execution, the economy coming back, some of the travel coming back. So we like it.
Bonwin, where do you stand now?
I mean, I think it's a name that you can own only because you see valuations in every other pocket of the market just so high, right? So you're going to see a flight to things that have underperformed, even though it is up quite a bit from its base. I do think that the road to rebounding will be a bit more protracted than perhaps some feel, only because where you're seeing rebounds is in lower margin business. That international and business aspect of travel really is going to be what propels this forward, and I'd be looking at those data points.
All right, coming up, feeling refreshed? Options traders sure are as they gear up for Coca-Cola's earnings. We are laying out the trade when Fast Money returns.
This CNBC program is sponsored by IBM. The world is going hybrid with IBM.
No one likes to choose between safe or sporty, modern or reliable. We want both. We want a hybrid. So do banks. That's why they're going hybrid with IBM. A hybrid cloud approach helps them personalize experiences with Watson AI while helping keep data secure. From banking to manufacturing, businesses are going with a smarter hybrid cloud, using the tools, platform, and expertise of IBM.
You packed a record 1.1 trillion transistors into this chip.
I invested in Invesco QQQ, a fund that invests in the innovators of the NASDAQ 100, like you.
Become an agent of innovation with Invesco QQQ.
Here's my definition of fiduciary. It's more than just acting in the best interest of our clients. It's being responsible, proactive, involved in every aspect of our clients' financial well-being, making sure every investment and every interaction is suited to your needs. We serve you. We look out for you. We care for you.
Charles Schwab is proud to support the independent financial advisors who are passionately dedicated to helping people achieve their financial goals.
Blunders. They're how we learn. But investment blunders are a costly lesson that can hurt your retirement. Decisions like trying to time the market, placing big bets on a single stock, or letting politics and elections influence your investments. Fisher Investments has gathered the 13 worst blunders and how to avoid them in this eye-opening free guide.
Why take a chance? Let Fisher Investments send you our free guide, 13 retirement investment blunders to avoid, like running short of money in retirement, or working with a money manager who's not a fiduciary. Call now, 1-800-208-4466.
Fisher Investments has helped thousands avoid costly blunders and achieve a comfortable retirement. If you have $500,000 or more to invest, call now.
Call Fisher Investments now for your free guide, 1-800-208-4466.
Don't just retire. Retire well.
I'm 53, but in my mind, I'm still 35. That's why I take OsteoBiflex, to keep me moving the way I was made to. It nourishes and strengthens my joints for the long term.
OsteoBiflex, plus vitamin D for immune support.
Americans spend over $70 billion a year on cleaning products.
Ready for spring cleaning?
It makes soap.
Shark Tank's got you covered.
But wait, there's more!
Shark Tank, tonight starting 8 Eastern. CNBC, get yours.
Welcome back. Here's a sneak peek at the Cramer Cam. Jim is talking to the CEO of American Eagle. That stock a big winner in today's session, so be sure to catch the full interview. Top of the hour on Mad Money. Up next on Fast, the big opportunity bubbling up in one soda stock. We'll bring you the name. And as we head to break, we are celebrating Financial Literacy Month by sharing messages from business leaders about the importance of financial education. Here's Bridgewater's Ray Dalio.
There are 3 things that you have to know how to do well in order to succeed. First, you have to know how to make more money than you spend. Second, you have to know how to take that savings and invest it well. And third, you have to be able to know how to diversify in order to invest it well, because that will reduce your risk without reducing your expected return.
Interactive Brokers charges 1.59% for a $100,000 margin loan. Do you know how much your broker charges? Upwards from 6.82% at Fidelity or Schwab to as high as 7.45 to 7.75% at E-Trade or Ameritrade. Move your account to Interactive Brokers and save at least $5,200 or much more if you're trading big bucks.
I really hope that this vaccine can get me one step closer to him.
To our huge wedding.
To give high fives to our patients.
To hug my students.
With every vaccine, CVS is working to bring you one step closer to a better tomorrow.
Bank are always hard to get your head around. The headlines are a dice roll, and there are lots of dice rollers out there who could immediately be disappointed. So call me concerned that this red-hot group could hurt the tenor of the earnings season.
Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
The future of fitness isn't dumbbells. It's revolutionary digital weight that learns as you get stronger. So you can be your strongest. Tonal, now at 40 Nordstrom locations nationwide.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America that'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake with the Ideal Agent was that we saved $12,000 in commission.
They were so stress-free, the whole process was amazing, and I would definitely recommend them.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are top local agents that'll get you the best results.
Welcome back. Pepsi shares going flat despite reporting higher than expected earnings and revenue. The company also reiterating its 2021 forecast. Coca-Cola is on deck to report next week, and one options trader is betting this soda stock is going to pop. Let's bring in Tony Zhang. So, Tony, what'd you see?
Yeah, today we saw some fairly unusual flow here for Coca-Cola, the second biggest name in XLP, the consumer staples sector. Now, Coca-Cola does trade fairly actively, about 53,000 contracts a day. But today, more than four times more calls traded than puts. And one unusual trade that we saw across the tape where a trader bought 10,000 contracts of the September 57.5 call options for about 96 cents. So this trader laid out almost $1 million in premium to bet that Coca-Cola will be above 58.5 by that September expiration. And just to put that into context, that's about 9.5% higher than where the stock closed today, while year to date, the stock is only up 1%. So this is a fairly large and fairly aggressive bet that over the long run, over the next 2 quarters in Q2 and Q3, that Coca-Cola is really going to take advantage of this recovery. And what's interesting is that it's only risking 1.7% of the underlying stock's value by buying this out-of-the-money call option going out to September.
All right, Tony, thanks. Tony Zhang for more options action. Be sure to tune into the full show. That's tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Up next, final trades.
Options Action is sponsored by Thinkorswim by TD Ameritrade.
Hey, Lily, I need a new wireless plan for my business, but all of my employees need something different.
Oh, we can help with that. Okay, imagine this. You're our mover, Rob. He's on the scene and needs a plan with a mobile hotspot. We cut to downtown. Your sales rep, Lisa, has to send some files, like ASAP.
So basically, I can pick the right plan for each employee.
Yeah, I should have just led with that.
With AT&T Business, you can pick the best plan for each employee and only pay for the features they need.
What about me?
One for me? You mean us?
What about me?
And me.
How about us?
Yeah, how about us?
Great question. Wait, can I get one in green?
Got one for me? Hey, what about me?
What about us?
Is there an EV for me?
EV for me? Us. What about me? Me? For me?
Nowadays, there are 2 things you can't live without in your vehicle:
your phone, and hand sanitizer. But they never seem to stay put. Now there's the perfect place for both. The WeatherTech Cup Phone hand sanitizer holder. With removable cups, the Cup Phone fits in virtually any vehicle and holds virtually any phone. It's the easiest way to keep your phone secure and your hands sanitized. The WeatherTech Cup Phone hand sanitizer holder comes with 2 bottles of Purell hand sanitizer. Order at WeatherTech.com.
Some say this is my greatest challenge ever, but I've seen centuries of this. With a companion that powers a digital world traded with a touch. The gold standard, so to speak.
Bank earnings are always hard to get your head around. The headlines are a dice roll, and there are lots of dice rollers out there who could immediately be disappointed. So call me concerned that this red-hot group could hurt the tenor of the earnings season. Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
Time for the final trade. Let's go around the horn. Karen.
Yeah, my final trade, Weight Watchers. It traded down today. I still like it. It's down maybe 20 some odd %. They just did a refinancing, cheaper debt. Good for them. Earnings in 2 weeks.
Bonawyn.
OIH is approaching that 180 support level. I'd be looking at that as a point of entry.
Nadine.
Thermo Fisher, best-in-class operator. Love the acquisition of PDD in the CRO space, and I think they're sandbagging with $125 million of synergies.
Guy.
Hope Elon Musk doesn't add us. In the meantime, Oracle, new all-time high today, ORCL.
Thanks for watching Fast Mad Money with Jim Cramer starts right now.
My mission is simple, to make you money. I'm here to level the playing field for all investors. There's always a bull market somewhere, and I promise to help you find it. Mad Money starts now.
Hey, I'm Cramer. Welcome to Mad Money. Welcome to Cramerica. Other people, my friends, I'm just trying to make you a little money. It's my job, not just to entertain, but to teach, educate. Call me, 1-800-743-CBC, or tweet me at Jim Cramer. Okay, listen to me. Throw out your economic textbooks. Trash the stock treatises. Ban the bond histories. They don't matter anymore. Everything we thought we knew is wrong. Or at least that's what today's action was saying. With the Dow gaining 305 points, the S&P jumping 1.11%, and the NASDAQ pole vaulting 1.31%. All right, what's so unnerving about that, about the tape? What is that about? Simple. The Dow Jones Industrial Averages hit a new high right as interest rates crater. The Dow's the most cyclical of the major indices. When it breaks records, that means the economy's supposed to be booming, correct? And when the economy's booming with strong inflation, interest rates are supposed to surge, not collapse like they did today. You can't have a boom and a bust at the exact same time, can you? Well, until today, I would have said that's impossible. See, I am expecting a boom. Something I find more confirmation of every day. Just this morning, I interviewed Ed Bastian. He's the implacable CEO of Delta. It was on Squawk on the Street. And he agreed with me that we could be on the cusp of the greatest boom in American history. Unlike me, Ed's not given to insane, or some would say inane, hyperbole. Suddenly, though, the bond market's behaving as though a boom is not only not in the cards, but maybe a huge slowdown is. Hey, so what's real? What's fake? Are we looking at a roaring 20s scenario, or will we soon be dead in the water? In other words, is it time to rotate out of the industrials and swap into something more defensive? Something like the most hated group in the entire market. Something like healthcare? Surely they can't both be right, or can they? Before I get into this dilemma, I know many of you couldn't care less. If you only focus on electric vehicles, or maybe cryptocurrencies, or the gospel according to GameStop, the idea that interest rates could plunge while everyone's fretting about inflation, well, that's probably a real non-issue for you. These people are what I call single-issue investors. You know how single-issue voters only care about, say, gun control or taxes, ignore everything else? A single-issue investor only cares about their own stock or their own asset, whether it be Dogecoin or non-edible tokens. But for professionals who collectively run trillions of dollars, the money men and women whose whims pretty much set stock prices, that's what they do. When they do this, the scenario that played out today is simply not supposed to happen. You can't have copper, oil, lumber, plastic, linerboard, freight, and housing all roaring while interest rates are dropping like an anvil off the Empire State Building. When we get this bizarro confluence, a monsoon in the proverbial stock market desert, it's because a left-for-dead sector made a remarkable comeback. I'm talking about healthcare, which somehow became the cheapest group in the market right in the middle of the pandemic, and versus its history, it's incredibly cheap. This cohort has fallen so out of favor that it finally represented enormous value. It was just waiting for the signal to move, and at the signal, well, it happened. Given how monumental that move was, I bet it's far from over. Yet the Dow hit a new high based on strength in healthcare, not the cyclicals. First, though, let's set the scene so you know what the heck I'm talking about. For most of last year, the stay-at-home stocks roared, while the go-about-your-business stocks wallowed. But once we realized that Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were right around the corner last November, the great reopening stocks took off, and they haven't looked back since. All sorts of experts like to come on TV and frame this as a tug-of-war between growth stocks and value stocks. How many times have you heard that, right? With value roaring over the last 6 months. But you know what? I think they're being willfully obtuse, not unlike the warden in Shawshank. Value stocks are only value stocks when they're cheap. It's not a fixed category, for heaven's sake. If you want to understand this move, it's not about growth versus value. It's about secular growth companies that can thrive in a weak economy versus cyclical growers that only do well when the economy's on fire. We didn't have the rotation into value, for heaven's sake. We had a rotation into cyclicals. You really can't call them value names anymore because they've run so much. While the secular growth stocks, well, they've been crushed. But today, that move stopped in its tracks. Money rotated back into the newly beaten down tech stocks. Yes, the real high growers. But it really rushed into the healthcare names. Yeah, healthcare. The most forlorn sector, punished endlessly. To the point where even Pfizer, a fabulous company, good yield, that's making a fortune from COVID vaccines, had been in retreat. Didn't matter. The group was out of style on the Wall Street fashion show. At least it wasn't until today. Yes, today the healthcare cohort, wow! Aided by it really all started in the morning. Excellent earnings from United Health Group. Yeah, UNH, the insurance provider, which also happens to be a component in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. On top of that, oh my God, this was something that just shocked me. Elliott Management, the brilliant activist hedge fund, it turns out that they've been building a significant stake in GlaxoSmithKline. Both stocks jumped about 4%. GSK. Wow. Whew. All right, anyway, the high spirits extended to the downtrodden Eli Lilly, where shareholders, including my charitable trust, have suffered immeasurably the pain from the vicious panning of the company's Alzheimer's drug. The rally also ignited Regeneron, which has a terrific treatment for severe COVID that helps get people out of the hospital faster. Remember, this is what they gave Trump. Somehow, neither the CDC nor the NIH has gotten behind Regeneron's terrific drug. I think this is total negligence by the U.S. government. The governor of the COVID-besieged state of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, sang its praises in a speech yesterday, giving the stock new life. CDC and NIH, will you stop putting the hate on Regeneron? All right, the hospital managed care, medical device, drug stocks, they all rallied hard today, too. How hard? Even the beleaguered Johnson & Johnson managed to go up. Now, the market didn't overlook the fact that we got some blowout retail sales numbers, allowing many retailers to roar. And because interest rates went down, signaling lower inflation, the secular growth tech stocks that we all know and love, Twilio, Okta, RingCentral, how can I help you? They just soared. That's what happens when interest rates go down big. On the other hand, the banks gave up the ghost, not because they put up bad numbers, and numbers were all real good, more on that later, but because the smart money was betting that Fed Chief Jay Powell would have to raise short-term interest rates to combat inflation. And that's such a cliche. And rate hikes are good news for the banks. But when you see bond yields plummeting, that suggests those rate hikes might not be coming anytime soon, so the banks can just get viciously pummeled. Where do I come out? I still believe Jay Powell is right. The current bout of inflation will prove to be temporary, meaning interest rates can keep falling. when nearly everyone is betting the same way, like how everyone thought rates were headed higher when we came in today, the market tends to make them look like knuckleheads. So I'm calling today a real knucklehead day. Or to put it another way, I think that the left-behind healthcare stocks are now coming back to life at the expense of the cyclical growth plays. And you should grab one before they all really take off into the... It's the coming back to life at the expense of the cyclical growth plays. And you should grab one before they all really take off into the... It's the... Gisela. You know what? I think we should, as much as I love Giselle and think she's fabulous, I think we should go to Francis in New Jersey. Francis.
Hey, Jim, booyah from New Jersey, even though I'm not even sure what that means. Yes.
Well, no one is. It's just been used for 16 years, but if you can figure it out, let me know.
In January, the chairman of Ranpak was on your show, and he talked about his company's efforts to reduce environmental impact by replacing petrochemical packaging. Yes, and he was going to be using sustainable properties like paper. So we support that effort, and we bought the stock, but we're not, you know, it's not really going anywhere. So I'm just seeing what you think about
I mean, comes up, Francis, I hate to ever dispute a fellow New Jerseyan, but it is up 40% for the year, and I regard 40% is pretty good. I mean, it's obviously not as good as Bitcoin, but then again, it's actually something that's good. Anyway, thank you. The left-behind healthcare stocks are now coming back to life at the expense of the much-beloved, until today, secular growth plays. And the cyclical growth plays, I got to tell you, I think they're going to be benched for more healthcare for a couple of days now, not a week or two. So you got to get one. Pick one. I like Eli Lilly because everybody hates it. On Mad Money tonight, imagine waking up, brushing your teeth, and quickly swabbing your nose or where your tonsils used to be to test for the coronavirus, whether you feel sick or not. This reality just got closer as the FDA approved 2 rapid antigen tests to be sold over the counter. I'm positive and not falsely. I'm going to talk with Dr. Michael Mina about what it means. Then earnings season kicked off with big banks reporting. I'm going to parse through those numbers and tell you what really happened. And give me an A, give me an E, give me an O. It's one of the hottest stocks in retail, and the CEO joins me tonight. Yeah, exclusive. I mean, like really super duper exclusive. And that's the CEO of American Eagle Outfitters. Stay with Kramer.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @JimKramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Kramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com. Get an edge. Invest like a pro. Access CNBC's live streams around the globe. Unparalleled access to CNBC experts. Actionable investor insight and ideas. Start your free trial today at cnbc.com/pro.
We are on a mission to make the United States of America the safest country in the world. It is an audacious goal. But since when in our country do we shy away from what is hard, what is difficult, and what is impossible? We are Americans. The world is going to change more in the next 10 years than the last 100 years combined. Because we, together, are going to change it.
Did you know that Petco is now a health and wellness company?
Their groomers work wonders for my confidence.
I trust their vets, and I'm known to have trust issues.
They deliver high-quality food the same day.
I was outside digging. What'd I miss?
Just everything regarding our physical, social, and mental health.
Exciting. I'm gonna take a spin around the room.
Great idea.
Petco, the health and wellness company.
is Peacock.
Describe it, please.
It's streaming.
It's for free.
It's new shows. It's your favorite shows.
And goosebumps.
It's movies.
Bring it.
Live sports, live events, and exclusive originals. Yes. It's Minions, Maguire, and much, much more.
The best thing that's ever happened.
Watch for free, upgrade for more.
And welcome back to Guess the Price. Sal, what do you do?
Oh, I'm a retired postal worker.
Fantastic. Are you ready to play?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, Johnny, tell him about Eargo.
These top-of-the-line hearing aids from Eargo are straight out of the future. They're rechargeable and virtually invisible in your ears.
Okay, Sal, how much do you think they cost?
Oh, gee, I don't know. $5,000?
Well, actually, for you, they don't cost anything.
Holy heck.
That's because federal employees, retirees, and their families can get these life-changing hearing aids at no cost.
Holy heck.
And you don't need to visit a doctor to get them. They ship right to your home and come with lifetime remote support. Convenient, right?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Heck yeah!
If you're active or retired U.S. military or a registered healthcare worker, you may be eligible for a 20% discount on Eargo Neo Hi-Fi. And if you're an active or retired federal employee, you can now get Eargo at no cost to you. Act now.
We've done a great job of getting people vaccinated in this country, but we're not out of the woods yet, especially with the J&J vaccine on hold until we figure out this blood clotting issue. Only about a quarter of the population has been fully vaccinated. We've got these crazy new COVID variants flying all over the place, and people are starting to lower their guard. There are now places all over the world where new cases are exploding, including our own Michigan. This is why we've spent the past year pushing for more widespread testing, especially the cheap rapid antigen tests, the ones you can take at home. It's not too late to roll out mass testing as we head towards one last severe outbreak. Do not take it from me. Let's check in with our favorite public health expert, Dr. Michael Mina. He's a professor at Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health, to get a clear picture on the pandemic. Dr. Mina, welcome back to Mad Money.
Well, thanks very much. Happy to be here.
All right, so Doc, yesterday, 75,267 cases of COVID in this country. 932 people died. Does that have to happen?
This doesn't need to be happening. We continue to focus exclusively, essentially, on the vaccines, and that's important, absolutely. But we have had, for months and months now, since the middle of last year, other options on the table, as you've mentioned. Frequent use of rapid tests, which themselves can help to stop the spread of outbreaks and stop them from becoming outbreaks and continuing to spread across this country.
Well, I have, you were kind enough to send me a step-by-step guide for COVID-19 self-testing. This is a British document. You sent me a bunch of them. I do it every morning. I want to be sure that I'm not going to get anybody sick. Why don't corporations do this? Because if they did it, holy cow, things would come down massively.
Yeah, well, many companies around the world are starting to do this. Many governments are actually starting to use frequent testing as a means out of this pandemic. In the United States, we've been quite slow to get these types of tests authorized. We've been overly cautious about potentially putting a frequent test in people's homes. We should have been able to make these accessible and available to all Americans many months ago. These are simple to use tests. There's a whole plethora of different kinds of these tests that are now available across the world. And the US just needs to really start thinking through other means to keep this virus under control, besides a sole focus on the vaccine, which, as we know, is working, but it's not going to be an immediate overnight solution here.
Now, I do know that coronavirus update, FDA continues to advance over-the-counter and other screening test developments that were there. I mean, will I be able to go to CVS or Walgreens and finally pick up a very low-cost test that I can test myself every day?
So the FDA did, after all this time, they actually did authorize two tests for two of these really inexpensive rapid tests for over-the-counter use. One was the Abbott test and one was the Quidel test. I have one of these Abbott, I don't work for Abbott, but I have one of these boxes here. This is what they'll look like. So I think people can start to think about how to potentially, that they'll be able to go to the store and actually pick up some of these tests and be able to purchase them right there on the shelf and bring them home and use them. That will happen. But what we need to happen first is we need to scale up the availability very much. We also need to ideally have the government subsidize the cost so that the average American isn't paying much money for these tests and can actually use them on a frequent basis.
Well, how about this great Citicorp initiative? That seems to be another way where we could make some progress.
Yeah, America's companies are wanting to really push this forward because they want to get their businesses back in session safely. And so the companies like Citibank are really looking at how does America, how does our industrial complex essentially bring employees back into the office safely, even when transmission is ongoing. That is a study to assess whether or not these simple rapid tests can work in people's homes. And so Citibank employees are using the tests every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if they're positive, they don't go to work. And ideally, this is an approach that's going to stop spread in the workplace.
Well, look, I got to tell you, Dr. Minna, you've been spot on this whole way. And we would have our country had listened to you, I have to tell you, there'd be just such a different profile against this illness. So I want to thank you for coming on. That's Dr. Michael Minna, a Harvard School of Public Health assistant professor of epidemiology, who has taught me more than anyone else about this pandemic. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming on Mad Money.
Absolutely.
Mad Money's back after the break.
Coming up, don't be overwhelmed by the torrent of 10 Qs. Cramer navigates earnings season, starting with banks. Next.
Next, Chicago bracing for protests over the police shooting of a 13-year-old boy. Plus, when you will likely need a vaccine booster shot.
The facts, the truth, the news with Shepard Smith. Next, CNBC.
Brian Sullivan, Worldwide Exchange, 5 a.m. Eastern on CNBC. On Squawk Box, will new leadership at the SEC bring a new financial agenda? What it could mean for the future of cryptocurrencies, regulations, and investors. Squawk Box, 6 Eastern. Watch Squawk Box anytime on demand.
Experience matters. For over 145 years, more families trust ADT for timeless protection and 24/7 peace of mind. ADT, real protection.
If you're thinking to yourself, what can help me take advantage of today's low mortgage rates and save money? Here's your answer, Rocket can. You could save hundreds of dollars every month by refinancing with Rocket Mortgage at today's near historic low rates. If your current rate is over 4.5%, with today's low rates, you could lower your payment by over $160 a month, saving thousands in interest every year. With a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, you could consolidate and pay off high-interest debt, tackle home improvements that could add value to your home, or even set aside cash for your child's future education. The technology built into Rocket Mortgage makes it easy for you to get personalized loan options that fit your needs. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this, what can give you the technology to refinance easily and potentially save money? Rocket can. Visit rocketmortgage.com or call us today. Rocket.
This is how you become the best.
Try to be best, cause you're only a man, and a man's got to learn to take it. Try to believe, though the going gets rough, that you gotta hang tough to make it. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around.
Don't get mad. Get E-Trade and take charge of your finances today.
Millions are saying yes to Allegra, the #1 allergist-recommended non-drowsy brand. Allegra works 2 times faster than Claritin, and unlike Zyrtec, it's non-drowsy. Say yes to the fastest non-drowsy 24-hour relief. Allegra.
Did you know that Petco is now a health and wellness company?
Their groomers work wonders for my confidence.
I trust their vets, and I'm known to have trust issues.
They deliver high-quality food the same day.
I was outside digging. What'd I miss?
Just everything regarding our physical, social, and mental health.
Exciting. I'm gonna take a spin around the room.
Great idea.
Petco, the health and wellness company.
Earnings season kicked into gear yesterday with the usual triple header of big banks. That's J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Wells Fargo. Then today we got more color from Bank of America and Citigroup. These tend to set the tone for the rest of the entire reporting period. And this time I was worried because the financials had run so much over the past 6 months. But man, the numbers were really good. I mean, fantastic. Goldman shot the lights out with the best quarter of the bunch. J.P. Morgan gave us some excellent results, even if the market reacted harshly, sending the stock down nearly 2%. I think the sellers got that way wrong. And while Wells Fargo's quarter was merely okay, nobody expected anything great from the worst of the big banks, which is why that stock jumped 5.5% on the news. Again, I was pretty worried about this group coming into earnings season, but they delivered, taking that concern off the table. So what do? Well, let's take them one by one, figure them out, starting with Goldman Sachs. Now, this stock only rallied 2% yesterday, and I think that's actually a little ridiculous because, as Chris Kotowski, covered this group forever from OPCO, said, Goldman had a pretty good year this quarter. But the numbers were so strong, I'm bringing back the old name. I'm going to go with it. I'm calling them Golden Slacks. These guys had record revenues, more than double what they made last year, and up 44% for the previous quarter. Even better, Goldman racked up record earnings, $18.60 per share. Wall Street was only looking for $10 and change. Give me a break. That is a staggering beat. Their annualized return on equity came in at 31%, highest level since 2009. A lot of people thought they could never do more than 10%. When you drill down, Goldman is indeed firing on all cylinders. It's not a cliche. It's just the truth. The investment banking business is booming. Record backlog, IPOs, debt underwriting, merger advisory. Yes, SPACs. It's all terrific. Global markets from Golden Slacks division is booming. Best numbers in over a decade. Strength across equities as well as fixed income, currencies, and commodities, also called FIC. Asset management, just on fire. Record net revenues from equity investments, consumer and wealth management. Yep, booming. Another record quarter. What more can I say? Before the quarter, analysts were expecting Goldman to earn $34.22 this year. Now they're thinking about $41.29. So figure this out. Even with the stock at $339, it could have a lot more upside if it traded at 10 times earnings. This would be a $413 stock, 10 times earnings. This is a premier investment bank. I'm betting that is where it's headed, especially now that Goldman's allowed to buy back stock, repurchasing $2.7 billion worth of shares last quarter. Next up, a healthy dividend boost, maybe, if the regulators let them have it. By the way, the window for insider sales is right about now, so be careful. The stock drops, but that will be your opportunity. Buy. Next, J.P. Morgan, the largest bank in America. To me, this was the second best report yesterday, although the market seemed to disagree. Investors sold the news. But make no mistake, the numbers were fantastic. They delivered $33 billion in managed revenue, up 14% year over year, when Wall Street was only looking for $28.5 billion. Meanwhile, J.P. Morgan earned $4.50 per share. That's up 477% versus last year, up 19% from the previous quarter. The analysts were only looking for $2.77. You know, I call that a 62% beat. The big sources of strength here were corporate and investment banking, as well as asset management, two divisions where there's a lot of overlap with something like Goldman. So then why did the stock sell off? Well, here's the thing. Unlike Goldman, J.P. Morgan is pretty much evenly split between ordinary banking and investment banking. But the ordinary banking numbers carry more weight because they're less volatile. The vast bulk of this beat came from investment banking, though, along with $5.2 billion reserve release, something else they don't get more credit for because it's one-off. Plus, there was some softness on the traditional banking side. Yeah, loan growth was tepid. J.P. Morgan firm-wide net interest income came in weaker than expected, while average loans in the consumer and community banking actually they declined 7% year over year as Americans continue to clean up their personal balance sheets. They don't need loans. They're flush. My view, I'm not particularly worried about those softer numbers at all, in part because debit and credit sales were up 9%. More importantly, though, while the banks would benefit from a rate hike or two, they've got a pretty good situation right now. Low short-term rates coupled with rising long-term rates, meaning, except for today, meaning they can pay you next to nothing for your deposits and then get bigger risk-free returns from the U.S. Treasuries. I got to tell you, this one's on sale. you got to buy it. And look, the fabulous investment banking numbers, they're not going to just vanish overnight, for heaven's sake. There's really not that much that's episodic here. I think the pullback in JP Morgan stock is a buying opportunity, plain and simple. And clearly somebody agrees because the stock started rebounding today. JP Morgan, I'm pounding the table. All right, how about Wells Fargo, which gave you the worst quarter yesterday, but paradoxically had the best performing stock, up more than 5%. Even so, when I say worst, they still delivered a 35-cent earnings beat on a 70-cent basis with higher than expected sales, up 2% versus last year. When you drill down here, though, these results were far from perfect. Now, Wells had some truly ugly average loan numbers, down 8% in consumer banking, down 19% in commercial banking, even down 5% in corporate investment banking. Remember, what we saw with JP Morgan, the investment banking business was fabulous, but traditional banking was a lot less impressive. Well, Wells Fargo is predominantly an old-fashioned consumer bank, and a worse one than JP Morgan. The addition of a big chunk of that earnings beat came from a release of $1.6 billion in reserves. That's what these companies can do because things are better. And they no longer needed them to cover loan losses. Again, that's a one-off. And on top of that, their expenses really remain stubbornly high. I'm very surprised. But Wells Fargo stock roared yesterday because this is viewed as more of a turnaround story than a banking story, which is why we actually own it for my Charitable Trust, which you can follow along by joining the ActionAlertsPlus.com club. Now, I keep telling you it's a better buy than JP Morgan because the expectations are much lower for Wells. And yesterday, they absolutely cleared that low bar. 18 months ago, Charlie Scharf, a banking veteran, tough guy, took over as CEO, and he is doing everything in his power to right the ship. He doesn't need to deliver perfect numbers yet. He just needs to show his investors that he's making progress. But that has more to do with the curious decline in interest rates. I say curious because that's not normally what you'd expect when we got a great jobless claims number of fantastic retail sales. Citigroup gave you a nice upside surprise, although most of the earnings the beat came from a massive $3.9 billion reserve release. There's that thing again. This is the kind of one-off positive nobody seems to be getting much credit for. Just like the banks that reported yesterday, Citi's got a lot of strength on the investment banking side, but traditional consumer banking was a lot less impressive. So what matters here? First off, the company's making a big push into asset management, especially overseas. It's got a really strong brand overseas. Smart move. Second, Citi's expense ratio was substantially better than expected, something we've been hoping for at last. They're also shutting down a lot of money-losing geographies, something only a brand-new CEO, Jane Fraser, can really do. If I had to rank this quarter, you know what? I'd put it right below JP Morgan's. Last but not least, let's talk about one that I really liked that didn't get any respect at all. Bank of America. I don't know if you saw him on Wilf, Brian Moynihan on Wilf. I thought it was pretty good, Wilf and Sarah. Closing bell. It got the worst reaction from the market. And I'm going to say that the market's wrong. It tumbled nearly 3% today. I thought it was insulting. Even though they posted a top and bottom line beat like everyone else, I mean, it was good. Bank of America has the most exposure to rising interest rates, though, because they've got an enormous deposit base and not much of an investment banking business, or at least this quarter. But their net interest income dropped 16%, and then Treasury yields got hammered today, hence the sell-off. That said, there was nothing particularly surprising in the quarter itself. Do not despair. If we get a couple of rate hikes, this is the one to own, and we're going to get them eventually. So put it away. Don't sell. Here's the bottom line. We got one less thing to worry about now that earnings season's gotten rolling. The banks are doing pretty darn good, even if their stocks don't necessarily reflect that fact. I am still bullish on the financials, especially investment banks like Goldman Sachs and the turnaround plays like Wells Fargo. After these numbers, the banks have gotten dirt cheap. Believe me, they will not stay that way. I'm thinking of going to Zach in Virginia. Zach!
What's up, Jim? First, I want to start with a big booyah.
I like that. That's a good way to bring things out. What's happening?
Oh, not much. I'm just calling about Square, ticker SQ. I have a position in it, and I'm looking possibly to add some more because I think not only did it get a boost from Bitcoin, but I also see it as a nice reopening stock. So my question to you is, should I buy some more or should I jump ship?
Man, you got horse sense. If you would ask me what to do with it, I would say it's got that Bitcoin that is just unbelievable in their Square app. And then it's got the, it is a great reopening story. I think it's going to have substantially better than expected earnings. Zach, I want you to buy more. I rarely say that after such a big run. And also, of course, booyah. All right, I'm bullish on the financials. All right, I know it didn't look like today, but today was wrong. The banks have gotten dirt cheap, and they won't stay that way. They got cheap because even though their stocks went up, the earnings went up much more. Hey, much more mad money ahead. American Eagle Outfitters has the hottest retail concept in the mall. And the mall is not dead. CEO joins me tonight to talk about a very rare interview. Don't miss my exclusive. Then, Bitcoin, NFT, Ethereum. They're creating plenty of buzz in the market. But how important are they really? I'm going to give you my take. And all your calls, rapid fire in tonight's edition of the Lightning Round. So stay with Cramer.
He was the biggest con man in history.
We lost 95% of what we had.
He sold his soul for the buck.
Bernie Madoff, His Life and Crimes. Available now on demand. CNBC.
They're out there, working day and night to breach your data and take what's yours. Ransomware, botnets, zero-day attacks. It's kind of scary if you think about it. Or you could not think about it at all. This is autonomous cybersecurity. This is SentinelOne.
Are your HR processes weighing down your employees?
Oh, it's your quarterly projections.
Expense report. If you're using multiple systems, re-entering data over and over, timesheet, using email and spreadsheets to manage information and approvals, then your HR systems are a drag on productive time. With Paycom, employees enter and manage their own HR data in a single, easy-to-use software. Visit paycom.com and schedule your demo today.
Do they know this door is locked?
Carl? I didn't know we were having dinner tonight.
You are.
Dandruff.
Keep dandruff from ruining date night.
Carl and I go everywhere together.
With Selsun Blue, it's powerful relief from flakes and itch.
How could you? Selsun Blue?
Did you know that Petco is now a health and wellness company?
Their groomers work wonders for my confidence.
I trust their vets, and I'm known to have trust issues.
They deliver high-quality food the same day.
I was outside digging. What'd I miss?
Just everything regarding our physical, social, and mental health.
Exciting. I'm gonna take a spin around the room.
Great idea.
Petco, the health and wellness company.
Doing what we love can be painful. Aspercreme works fast and lasts, so you can keep doing what you love. Aspercreme now has a new look. Same pain-fighting power.
Last night, American Eagle Outfitters pre-announced some incredibly strong results for the first quarter, which still has 2 weeks left. It's ahead of their appearance at the JP Morgan Retail Roundup Conference today, and that's the big conference for retail. We've been following this teen apparel chain ever since last summer when my favorite retail analyst, Matthew Boss, over at JP Morgan, started pushing it as part of his lag trade. That's L Brands, American Eagle Outfitters, and Gap. That's why I started recommending American Eagle Outfitters 6 months ago at 15 smackers. Since then, it surged to $34. And honestly, at the numbers we sold last night, it isn't done. I think it's got more. Management says first quarter revenue should exceed $1 billion. That's up substantially versus the first quarter of 2019. Yes, and that is the closest pre-COVID comparison. Even better, operating income has more than doubled over the same period. No wonder the stock jumped 4% today. I think we should take a closer look with Jay Schottenstein. He's the executive chairman and CEO of American Eagle Outfitters. So exciting to hear more about this pre-announcement and his company's prospects. Mr. Schottenstein, congratulations on the results. Welcome to Mad Money. And how did you do it?
Well, Jim, thank you for that. We did it for the past, we've been doing it for the past year. Our people have been very focused. Our stores have been a very welcoming place. When you go in our store, you feel safe to shop. Many of the consumers love shopping in our store. They feel safe. Our merchandise is right. We've been on target. You look at Aerie, which is the hottest store in the country right now. We only have 26 consecutive quarters of double-digit comps. And we're about to have our 27th quarter, which may be closer to triple-digit comps. And meanwhile, American Eagle is the #1 brand for 15 to 25-year-olds for denim. number 1 for ladies for denim, and number 3 for men for denim. So we've been doing it for like a long period of time.
Well, let me ask you, a lot of people say the mall is dead. These numbers are better than almost every direct-to-consumer catalog, stay-at-home, web. How are you able to buck that trend? Or are all the rumors of the demise of the mall completely false?
No, the mall's not dead. The mall's still alive. It's just right now, people are still going and shopping, but people have to be careful. In our stores, like I said a second ago, we practice, proper protocol. We're operating. It's amazing, the sales we're doing. Like this quarter, all the stores are comping, and we're doing it at a 50% capacity. So we're very excited about the future of the mall, and we think that when things get better and the pandemic goes away, we're still in the pandemic, but when it goes away. We could be looking at the roaring 20s.
Oh my! You and I are totally in sync. That's exactly what I said to Ed Bastian from Delta today. This is the roaring 20s. Now, one thing I think people don't understand is the denim cycle. We had Levi's on recently. The denim cycle is the most powerful I have ever seen, Jay.
Well, we're so excited about the denim cycle because we've been pushing denim since 1992, and like I said a second ago, we're the number 1 brand for the 15 to 25-year-olds. We're the number 1 for ladies denim, and with all the silhouette changes going, we think we'll get the biggest benefit of it. So we're very excited about it.
All right, let's talk about the brand that my kids love. Okay, and my kids are in their 20s. They're not teenagers. Aerie, jammies. Well, that's what my daughter calls them. Leisure wear, stuff that they can hang out in, but also go out. I mean, this brand, which is probably unknown to many of our viewers, you've got to give us a little explanation of how this is right now, I think, the most powerful brand in all of apparel.
Well, if you look at our name, Aerie, we go Aerie Real. We were one of the architects of the body positivity movement. We were the first retailer to not touch up the models. We have a team that's led by Jen Foyle, who are so dedicated to this brand. They are the brand. I mean, they live it, they breathe it, they think it, and it's real. I mean, we encourage people to feel good about themselves, to be optimistic, and to have self-love. And the team is really focused. I mean, part of Aerie, we have a new line called Offline that we're opening at the stores. It's Offline by Aerie, which is going to be in the athleisure area. And we have certain leggings right now we can't even keep in stock. As soon as they come in, they go right out. As a matter of fact, it was amazing. These leggings took off so fast that we get 40, 50,000 in a week. They ship them Monday from overseas. They arrive Thursday in a distribution center. By Saturday, they'd be in the customer's home and never even hit the store.
Wow. Well, look, Jay, I got to congratulate. I mean, this is stunning, and I love why. I think the idea of no pressure, I think the idea of which my kids just like it. They just feel like it fits and makes them feel great, and that is something that you've done that few others have accomplished. Jay Schottenstein, Chairman and CEO of American Eagle, congratulations on just an amazing couple of years, not just a quarter. Thank you. Mad Money's back after the break.
Just chill out.
Is this Chill Master Jay? The Chill Man is in the house. He's happy.
The lightning round is coming up when Mad Money returns.
Next, Chicago bracing for protests over the police shooting of a 13-year-old boy. Plus, when you will likely need a vaccine booster shot.
The facts, the truth, the news with Shepard Smith. Next, CNBC.
So you want to make the best burger ever? Then make it. That means cooking day and night until success. That means best burger ever.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful with payments, payroll, and banking.
Did you know that Petco is now a health and wellness company?
Their groomers work wonders for my confidence.
I trust their vets, and I'm known to have trust issues.
They deliver high-quality food the same day.
I was outside digging. What'd I miss? Just everything regarding our physical, social, and mental health.
Exciting. I'm gonna take a spin around the room.
Great idea.
Petco, the health and wellness company.
We are on a mission to make the United States of America the safest country in the world. It is an audacious goal. But since when in our country do we shy away from what is hard, what is difficult, and what is impossible? We are Americans. The world is going to change more in the next 10 years than the last 100 years combined. Because we, together, are going to change it.
Green bonds give investors an opportunity not just to get a good return, but also to do good with their money as well. Green bonds are like any other traditional bond, but they come with a commitment from the company to invest in specific projects that achieve an environmental or social outcome. When the green bond market first started back in 2007, 2008, there were small retail targeted transactions. Now, it's over $200 billion a year in issuance. We've seen a full spectrum of projects being supported by green and sustainability bond transactions. Everything from more energy-efficient ice cream cabinets to better forestry and farming, through to developing affordable and social housing. The bond market is a natural home for sustainability. Buying green bonds is not just doing good, it's good business. I'm Navindu Katagampala, and we are Morgan Stanley.
Want to invest in Bitcoin? It's as easy as GBTC. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is the world's largest Bitcoin investment vehicle. Type GBTC into your brokerage account to invest in Bitcoin today.
With Grammarly Business, you can turn your frontline reps into bottom-line superheroes. Now his emails always strike the right tone. Learn more at Grammarly.com/business.
Keeping your oyster business growing as you swamped. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Claim your $75 credit when you post your first job at Indeed.com/promo.
Lightning Round is sponsored by TD Ameritrade.
It is time. It's time for the lightning round. What's about, Rob? Of course, one of those cities. Wait a second. And then the lightning round is over. Are you ready, Ski Daddy? Time for the lightning round. Oh my! Gisela in Florida. Gisela.
Hey Kramer, how's it going?
Couldn't be better. How about you?
All right. Good. Finally got on. So here we go. My big question. My family invested in some JetBlue when it was at its lowest. And now it's been oscillating between the 20s and 21 for some time. We sold some off, but we still own some. Do you think that we should sell the rest that we have? Or is there a chance that it could reach a new high in the summer when everyone feels confident with the vaccinations and starts flying again?
Right. Gisela, listen to me. This is the halcyon moment for JetBlue. I want you to own it. And if it went down even $2, I would buy more. How about we go to Ed in Texas now? Ed.
Yeehaw, Jimmy Chill. How's it going?
I like that. Chill Man has been fighting with the people in the mentions column. Not. What's going on?
Hey, I got a stock. It's got a pretty low PE ratio, a good dividend, and it's been exploding ever since the pandemic started. I wanted to see what you thought about Big Lots, ticker symbol BIG.
Big Lots is not as bad as it used to be, which in this market is high praise. It's a buy. Gary in Illinois. Gary.
Yeah, hi, Jim. I bought JMIA at $60 per share, and it's now around $34. Do I dollar cost average, or what do you recommend?
No. I'm not a fan. You got to go to to another money. Maybe Angry Money, or and Crazy Money. But Mad Money does not like Jumia, and I've got to tell you, it's a cut losses situation. Oh, I'm so not done. I am going to go to Lydell in Mississippi. Lydell.
How are you, Mr. Quayman? I am calling about...
I am doing well. How about you? Well, booyah to you. This stock is going down along with all the specs. I like Litinsky. I know that this was a bad day for this group. It's so bad. I mean, look at QuantumScape. Hey, you know what? Let me give you a twofer. We need, right now, Jagdeep Singh on, because QuantumScape trades with MP, and they're trading bad. We need more information. I need to go to Bob in Maryland. Bob!
Well, Mr. Kramer, it's good to talk with you, and I want to thank you for being so generous in sharing your insights. I'm calling about an oncological testing company called NeoGenomics, and I'm wondering what you think about it.
Yes, I know it, and I got to tell you, not only do I like it, but after today's buy of PPD by Thermo Fisher and Mark Casper, none smarter, I think this NeoGenomics, I like to have them on air, particularly because they're from Fort Myers, Florida, one of my absolute favorite towns. But yes, I like NeoGenomics. Let's go to Chris in Illinois. Chris!
Hey, what's up, Jimbo? What's up?
Not much. How about you?
Yeah, all right, same old. Hey, buddy, what's your opinion on Old Republic, ORI? Not much.
All right, now no one has asked me about Old Republic, I think, in the 37 years I've been doing the show. And it is it's really only 16. It is a great company. Absolutely great. I'm so glad it's got a good yield. It's got a good balance sheet. It is well run. You got a keeper there, my friend. I'm going to Dave in Ohio. Dave!
Mr. Chillman, how we doing?
It's Chillman. The Chillman be chilling. What's going on?
I'm calling about
Cleveland! Where John Rockefeller was from. Euclid Avenue. Go ahead.
Not for long, though. This is a utility stock, but Uri hit, causing a one-time material adverse impact of around $1 billion. The stock is Vistra Corp.
My friend, you are so close to American Electric Power, and you come to me with Vistra Corp, you're going with AEP. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the conclusion of the Lightning Round!
The Lightning Round is sponsored by TD Ameritrade.
Something's bothering my stomach. I could cut out a lot of foods or figure out what's actually bothering me before removing and adding back. I'll do that.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America that'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake with the Ideal Agent was that we saved $12,000 in commission.
They were so stress-free. The whole process was amazing, and I would definitely recommend them.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are top local agents that'll get you the best results.
On Tech Check, Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky, post-pandemic travel recovery prospects, and hospitality opportunities for investors. Tech Check, 11 Eastern. Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
Next, Chicago bracing for protests over the police shooting of a 13-year-old boy. Plus, when you will likely need a vaccine booster shot. The news, minutes away.
The facts, the truth, the news with Shepard Smith. Next, CNBC.
Are we living in interesting times? Dangerous times? Encouraging times? Ridiculous times? How about just the times? We keep trying to characterize this moment, to judge it by the standards of the past, because we see so much strangeness day after day. Believe me, I get it. We have people trying to put prices on things that didn't exist. Think non-fungible tokens. Others invest with messianic zeal, pointing at things that are up huge, like Bitcoin, and telling us the rally's only just begun. There are signs that inflation is raging, with lumber and copper prices roaring. We have housing prices through the roof. Retail sales are booming, up nearly 10% last month. And we just got the lowest jobless claims number since the pandemic hit, sending the Dow and the S&P to new highs. Well, doesn't that mean Fed Chief Jay Powell will be forced to slam on the brakes to prevent the economy from overheating and inflation taking off? As I said at the top, that's increasingly becoming the consensus view, at least in the media, and to a slightly lesser extent, Wall Street itself. There's a sense that everything's gone completely crazy, haywire, and this will all end in tears. But when I hear those worries, I want to take the other side of the trade. Why? First off, only about half of Americans even own some stock, right? I mean, some way, shape, or form. Many of them keep these holdings locked up in their 401ks. That means the rally hasn't impacted most people. They either don't have stocks or they're buying and holding investors who never take profits. So higher stock prices really aren't particularly inflationary. Second, let's stop kidding ourselves about cryptocurrency. We don't know how much money is really in crypto right now, but we do know it's concentrated in very few hands. Again, not that inflationary. Third, controversies like non-fungible tokens are still tiny. They just get a lot of airtime because, well, they're fun to talk about. I was involved recently in an auction for a Time magazine cover. It was the fabled Is God Dead issue from April 6, 1966. I decided to bid for it as an experiment, which meant I had to go to my Coinbase wallet and buy some Ethereum, because they wanted it to be bid in Ethereum, and then bid for rights to the cover. No, not the commercial rights. Just an easily copied image that happened to have a digital serial number. I put in a bid at 20 grand worth of Ethereum, and for the longest time, it looked like I was about to get it. But right at the end, someone else came in with 100 grand worth of Ethereum. I mean, is that what an iconic NFT is really worth? Why not 30 grand? How about 50 grand? How about 140 grand? Or as my wife, Lisa, said, how about nothing? She was horrified as I bid 20 grand for what exactly? If you can't use it, if there's no exclusivity, what's the point of it other than to say it's got chain block or blockchain or whatever? To her, I was throwing away a lot of money. I tried to explain, look, if I had got that NFT at 20 grand, I might have been able to flip it to a guy who wanted to pay 100 grand. Of course, if anyone said that to me about a stock, I'd read them the Riot Act. What if you buy it and then it does nothing or it goes down? The whole thing is an exercise in the greater fool theory. Less non-fungible tokens than non-fungible tulips, right? Toucans, I like that. Kind of true. Non-fungible tulips. I'm wrong. Have you seen the tulips that just came up in the last couple of days? Like that Time magazine cover. They're priceless. But let's step back for a second. What matters here is that NFTs are so small with so few people involved that virtually no impact. There's a lot of stuff that's very exciting. But a little of it has much to do with the economy. Tail down counted as pandemic. 7.9 for millions of struggling Americans. I'd like to say there's always a bull market somewhere, and I promise you I'll find it just for you right here on Mad Money. I'm Jim Cramer. See you tomorrow. The news with Shepard Smith starts now.
Body cam video released in Chicago. A 13-year-old boy shot and killed by police. I'm Shepard Smith. This is the news on CNBC.
Simply put, we failed Adam.
The city's mayor calling for calm as she addresses Chicago's history of violence that's taking lives.
We've got to do things differently.
The then cop who shot Dante Wright makes her first appearance in court as the victim's mother grieves.
There's never going to be justice for us.
The defendant speaks in court.
Have you made a decision today whether you intend to testify?
Tonight, what he decided and next steps. Day 14 in the trial of Derek Chauvin. A third shot? Pfizer's answer as it lays out a timeline for protective immunity. And Dr. Fauci calls for a universal vaccine. Plus, the United States hits Russia with sanctions. Stimulus loan paybacks due for people who never applied. Now the investigation. And UFO footage. The Pentagon confirms the Navy shot it.
Live from CNBC, the facts, the truth, the news with Shepard Smith.
Good evening. The Chicago mayor calls for calm after the city today released that body cam video showing an officer shooting and killing a 13-year-old boy. The teen's name is Adam Toledo, a 7th grader. The video is hard to watch. It is one of 17 body cam videos released. We've combed through all of them, and we'll walk you through what they appear to show. On March the 29th, cops say they responded to reports of shots fired and found 2 males on scene. One, an adult, 21-year-old Ruben Roman, who police say had fired the shots. One officer tackled and arrested him. The other was 13-year-old Adam, who cops say had a gun in his hand and was running away. Another officer chased him in an alleyway, and that's where the video we're about to show picks up. Again, the warning. It's upsetting to watch.
Please stop! 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 Hey, show me your hand! Stop it! Stop it!
Goes on to show the officer immediately radioed for help, trying to tend to that wounded teenager, eventually performing chest compressions, trying and failing to revive him. You could hear the officer right before shooting Adam yell, "Drop it, drop it." But a surveillance video from a different angle appears to show Adam had thrown the gun away. Here's Adam running down the alleyway in the distance there. The cop follows. Then Adam stops at that break right there in the fence. And if you look closely, it appears he throws something behind the fence. Here, look again from a different angle. His arm reaches out slightly right before he turns to face the officer. Police later found the gun a few feet from Adam's body. There it is in the spotlight, right behind the fence. On Saturday, an assistant state attorney told a judge that Adam did have a gun in his hand when he was shot. But today, a spokesperson for the state attorney's office said the attorney had been wrong and failed to fully inform himself before speaking in court. NBC's Antonia Hilton live in Chicago. Antonia, how is the community reacting tonight?
Good evening, Shep. I'm right here in Millennium Park in Chicago, and protesters are expected to start gathering here throughout the night in honor of Adam Toledo's memory and in reaction, of course, to this horrific and disturbing and graphic video released just hours ago. The mood across the city right now, Shep, is one of heartbreak, betrayal, hurt, and much of that is directed towards city leaders, to the Chicago Police Department, and then also to the prosecutor that you just mentioned. Many people here say that they felt that they were led to believe that what they would see when this video came out was, Adam Toledo obviously menacing the officer, holding a gun in his hand, ignoring commands. But that is not what the video shows. And so while people were bracing for a traumatic and graphic video, they were still shocked by what they ultimately saw. I want you to take a listen to what the family's attorney said earlier today.
Adam, during his last second of life, did not have a gun in his hand. The officer screamed at him, "Show me your hands." Adam complied, turned around. His hands were empty when he was shot in the chest.
You can you can hear the anger in the attorney's voice there, and that's been reflected in some of the conversations that I've had here tonight. Adam was laid to rest just last Friday, and the family has been calling for peace, for their own privacy, and city leaders are now also calling on people to be patient. This video has illuminated much for folks, but there is still an ongoing investigation, Shep. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability is expected to continue investigating this, and they want there to be new facts and details out before people reach their conclusion, Shep.
Antonia, thank you. Another police force bracing for a fifth night of unrest as we look live in the Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Center. Outrage continues to simmer over the shooting of Daunte Wright, a curfew back in effect tonight. Kim Potter is the police officer who killed Daunte Wright. She made her first appearance in court today after being arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter. The court hearing over Zoom. That's Potter wearing the green plaid shirt in this sketch, sitting in her attorney's office. The judge told Potter she can't possess any guns while she's out on bond. Potter's not yet entered a plea. She's next scheduled for court in about a month. Potter claims she thought she was firing her taser at Wright during a traffic stop for expired tags, but she drew her gun instead by mistake. Well, today, Daunte Wright's family reacted to the manslaughter charge and expressed disbelief over how a veteran officer could mistake a handgun for her taser.
Manslaughter? Y'all see the difference? This is a taser. This is a taser. But no, my nephew was killed with this, a Glock.
Meanwhile, Potter's home has been turned into a veritable fortress with concrete barriers and fencing, and the local police chief says the cops are guarding it round the clock. Derek Chauvin deciding he will not testify in his own murder trial.
I have repeatedly advised you that this is your decision and your decision alone, right?
Correct.
Have you made a decision today whether you intend to testify or whether you intend to invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege?
I will invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege today.
Had he decided to testify, Chauvin would have been opening himself to tough questions from prosecutors during cross-examination. Both the defense and the prosecution have now rested their cases. Jurors get tomorrow off, then closing arguments set for Monday. Then it's time for the jury to deliberate and decide Derek Chauvin's fate. The judge telling the panel to prepare for the long haul, just in case.
If I were you, I would plan for long and hope for short. Basically, it's up to the jury how long you deliberate, how long you need to come to a unanimous decision on any count. And so because that's entirely up to you, whether it's an hour or a week, it's entirely within your province.
Also today, prosecutors brought back one of their medical experts to rebut testimony from the defense's medical expert who said George Floyd may have had carbon monoxide poisoning from the patrol car's exhaust. Dr. Martin Tobin, one of the nation's leading lung and breathing experts, told the court that he found no evidence of carbon monoxide in Floyd's blood. Prosecutors also tried to introduce Floyd's blood work as new evidence, but the judge rejected that because he said the state should have presented it beforehand. The judge warned the prosecution that he would rule it all a mistrial if they even mentioned that evidence moving forward. David Henderson now, civil rights attorney, former prosecutor, CNBC contributor. David, you've said from the very early going, the only chance for Derek Chauvin is to show remorse, testify, and try to win over a juror. What do you think now?
Well, Shep, that's right. You know, what the defense is relying on is having an unreasonable person on that jury who hangs the jury. That's always difficult to predict. But my thoughts about him taking the stand were also based on laying out a defense where it would make sense. In light of the defense that they mounted, it probably made more sense to not call him to the stand, because if he's going to say something to the effect of, I did my job, I'd do it again, obviously that would sink his case altogether.
Dr. Tobin, a prosecution medical expert I mentioned, returned to the stand to rebut that testimony that George Floyd may have died of multiple causes. Do you believe he did enough to help the prosecution's argument?
I did, and what Dr. Tobin needed to do was simply get on the stand and drop the mic, to be honest with you, Shep, and the defense opened the door to doing that. This is what happens when you don't know your opponent. You're not familiar with the fact that Jerry Blackwell has a history of trying asbestos cases. He knows how to question experts. And on top of that, the state had the dream team when it comes to experts, and experts are the only witnesses who are allowed to watch the trial. So during Fowler's testimony, the state's experts who are watching the trial and telling Blackwell how to rebut what the defense put on.
3 days off now, bright and early Monday, closing arguments. What do you expect from first the prosecution? It's their day usually in these sorts of cases, and then the defense.
It's hard for us to keep it in mind, but I've got to remind everyone, the jury hasn't had the chance to deliberate yet. So whereas we've been having conversations about the case every day, this will be new for them come Monday. So the first thing the state has to do is remind them of everything they've heard over the past 3 weeks, primarily the video evidence. They've got to break down the expert testimony, and they do have a tricky job of explaining how, despite the fact they've got 3 charges for the exact same conduct, the jury should convict on 1 or all 3 of them. The defense just has to poke holes, and if they're intelligent about how they make their argument, they do have room to work at creating reasonable doubt for the jury.
Quickly, got a prediction?
I don't, and I would second guess anybody who tries to predict this, Shep. They're probably trying to sell you something. We know too little about these folks to even know who's going to be a leader in the jury room, who's going to be a follower, and who might simply be an unreasonable person who hangs everything up. A lot of this will ride on how the 2 sides argue and close.
David, thank you as always. And as we reported, the prosecution and defense scheduled to present closing arguments on Monday morning, then the jury to receive instructions, then be sequestered to begin deliberations. We'll have full coverage here on the news and bring you the verdict live when it's delivered here on CNBC. Heated debate before Congress today on where we stand in our fight against COVID and its dangerous variants. Next, Dr. Fauci's assessment on how and when we beat this pandemic. And one of the concerns over the pause in the J&J shot is that it may make the vaccine hesitant even more hesitant. Coming up after this break, we hear from folks in the state with the 2nd worst vaccination rate in all the land.
The facts, the truth, the news with Shepard Smith. Back in 60 seconds.
Are you managing your diabetes using finger sticks? With the new Freestyle Libre 2 system, a continuous glucose monitor, you can check your glucose with a painless 1-second scan. And now, with optional alarms, you can choose to be notified if you go too high or too low. And for those who qualify, the Freestyle Libre 2 system is now covered by Medicare. Ask your doctor for a prescription. You can do it without finger sticks. Learn more at freestylelibre2.us.
When your employees feel connected, appreciated, and supported, your business becomes more than a place of work. It becomes a work of art. And we can help you create your masterpiece. UKG, our purpose is people.
Mark your calendars. Pfizer's CEO telling CNBC that people will likely need a 3rd shot of its COVID vaccine within 12 months of getting fully vaccinated. He also says it's possible we'll need to get vaccinated every year. Still, the CDC data shows the vaccines have been very effective at preventing COVID. More than 78 million Americans are now fully vaccinated, and only 5,800 of them still got infected. Less than 1/100th of 1%. They're called breakthrough cases. Nearly 400 ended up in hospitals. 74 died. That's less than 1 in a million. The data on par with what many health experts predicted because, as they put it, no vaccine is ever 100% effective. Today, the CDC director addressed the data during a hearing with House lawmakers.
Some of these breakthroughs are, of course, failure of an immune response in the host, and then some of them we worry might be related to a variant that is circulating.
In fact, the nation's top health experts took questions on a variety of topics about the current and future state of the pandemic. CNBC's Meg Terrell covers science and medicine for us. Meg, what's the outlook on booster shots and variants?
Well, Shep, they said they're still studying how long the protection of the vaccines last, but they are planning for the possibility we'll need booster shots. We got to hear from Dr. David Kessler at the hearing today. He was FDA commissioner under Presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, and now for the Biden administration, he essentially leads what used to be Operation Warp Speed, and he doesn't speak publicly much. Here's what he said about boosters.
I think we should expect that we may have to boost. And probably have to boost. Again, no decision, but the current thinking is that certainly those who are more vulnerable may have to go first.
Now, whether we need another shot in 9 months or a year, he said that we don't know yet.
And there was a setback today on getting drugs that treat COVID.
Yeah, yes and no. So Merck has been developing a closely watched drug for COVID that could be the first antiviral pill for the disease. And it said today it saw promising data from a clinical trial and would move into a larger study in patients early in the course of the disease who are at high risk of hospitalization. But it said the drug didn't appear to work in patients who were already hospitalized. And it also stopped work on a separate drug for patients in the hospital. So overall, the pill for COVID still being developed, but Merck said the earliest it could file for emergency use authorization would be the second half of the year, so it's not imminent.
Okay, Meg, the hearing today really got tense between Dr. Fauci and Congressman Jim Jordan over when things can return to normal.
Yeah, it really did. Take a look.
When is the time? When do Americans get their freedom back? We had 15 days to slow the spread, turned into 1 year of lost liberty.
I don't look at this as a liberty thing, Congressman Jordan.
Well, that's
I look
obvious.
At this as a public health thing.
But
I disagree with you on that.
You think the Constitution is suspended during a virus, during a pandemic? It's certainly not.
You're making this a personal thing, and it isn't.
It's not a personal thing.
No, you are. That is exactly what you're doing. We're not talking about liberties. We're talking about a pandemic that has killed 560,000 Americans.
And Shep, this was one of many similar exchanges. Dr. Fauci ultimately did reiterate what he told us before, which is when COVID gets well below about 10,000 cases per day, it starts to become more like flu, which is a more acceptable level of risk. Shep?
Meg, thanks so much. The J&J vaccine still paused as health experts review rare cases, very rare, of blood clots. 7 women who got the shot. Still no link confirmed at all. The move out of an abundance of caution, they tell us. But health officials say they are very concerned that this pause could have the worst impact on hard-to-reach communities. Pockets of Mississippi, for example. The state has the second worst vaccination rate in the country. Experts say one of the biggest factors is vaccine hesitancy. Mound Bayou in the Mississippi Delta is particularly vulnerable. The town of 1500, founded by freed slaves as an independent black community in the late 1800s. NBC's Yasmin Vasugian is there.
Yeah, Shep, as you mentioned, folks were already hesitant to get this vaccine in the state. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine was the most popular vaccine in this state because it was a one-and-done situation with folks already being hesitant. They said, if I'm going to get it, I want to get just one shot. Also, this is a rural place, so you have to drive 25, 30 miles to get this vaccine. And so they only wanted to come once to get it. The Tuesday decision really impacted individuals. I talked to Pam Chapman. She's someone who organizes folks in rural communities getting these vaccines. Here's what she had to say about the impact.
We were all excited because we had so many people committed to taking the J&J. And as soon as we informed them that they had taken it off the shelves, they panicked. Everybody left. They canceled their appointments. No one wanted it. Not that they just said, I don't want it. They just didn't want it. And they didn't want to take Moderna. They were out.
Shep, so the vaccine hesitancy, it's multifaceted. It's about the fact that this is a rural community. They were hard hit financially, so it costs money to get to some of these clinics. A lot of folks don't trust the development of the vaccine and the government as well. And many individuals, especially elderly folks, don't necessarily have the internet to have the information to set up the appointments and knowing when and where to get this vaccine. But it's about a ground game. It's about engaging the community, engaging church leaders, engaging pastors. And that's what they're doing, knocking on doors, putting out leaflets, putting up billboards, and talking to pastors about engaging with their congregants and educating them, Shep, about this vaccine.
Yasmin, thanks so much. There's good news on the economic front. Money spent on the rise as unemployment filings drop in a big way. What the boost on Wall Street means for Main Street. And notices going out about paying back small business loans. The problem is a lot of people receiving the notices never applied for any small business loan. A CNBC investigation next.
Get an edge. Invest like a pro. Access CNBC's live streams around the globe. Unparalleled access to CNBC experts. Actionable investor insight and ideas. Start your free trial today at cnbc.com/pro. On Tech Check, Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky, post-pandemic travel recovery prospects, and hospitality opportunities for investors. Tech Check, 11 Eastern. Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
At Fidelity, you get personalized wealth planning and unmatched overall value. Together with a dedicated advisor, you'll make a plan that can adjust as your life changes, with access to tax-smart investing strategies that help you keep more of what you earn. And with brokerage accounts, you see what you'll pay before you trade. Personalized advice, unmatched value. At Fidelity, you can have both.
I hope the vaccine can get me one step closer to my fiance.
Dance on stage.
Swim class.
I can't wait for my patients to see my smile again.
To hug my students.
Give my parents a proper send-off. To go salsa dancing.
No.
I can't wait for you to meet my mom.
Play my piano for my friends.
To give high fives to our patients.
I think we're one step closer to being better people.
With every vaccine, CVS is working to bring you one step closer to a better tomorrow.
84% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. Truebill helps you save money by finding recurring charges, notifying you when they're due, and easily canceling unwanted subscriptions. Download Truebill and take control of your money.
It was time someone made a better wallet, so we did. This is the Ridge. Precisely engineered to fit all your cards and cash in a fraction of the space. And made from military-grade materials, so we can guarantee it for life. Get 10% off today at ridge.com/TV.
If you're tired and you know it, skip the gym.
If you're anxious and you know it, take a break.
If your heart rate variability is 50.
Tax season, are they going to try to seize my tax return? Are they going to, try to garnish my paycheck if I don't resolve the situation in time? There's definitely a lot of things to be worried about.
And he's not alone.
Karina Keys owns a digital media firm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Keys received a loan under the PPP, which offers loans that can be forgiven if impacted businesses use them to keep workers employed. So she didn't need another one from the SBA. Then this payment notice came in the mail for a $150,000 loan taken out under the EIDL as well.
The shock of it turned to really a lot of frustration and anger.
Even though the application listed inaccurate details for her company, like its phone number, the loan somehow got approved. The SBA notice says she has to start paying back the loan in November.
Do you think it'll get resolved? Well, I am a very, very trusting person, and so I want to believe that it will get resolved and that we will not be responsible to repay that loan.
In response to our investigation, the SBA says the Biden-Harris administration takes seriously its responsibility to safeguard taxpayer dollars and prevent fraud, waste, and abuse in federal programs, adding, quote, in recent months, new enhanced checks have been put in place to intensify system validations used to mitigate the occurrence of fraud in the economic injury disaster loan and paycheck protection programs. The SBA went on to say it is working with various federal law enforcement agencies to combat this fraud. It would not discuss individual borrowers. Shep?
Kate, thanks. United States new sanctions level today against Russia. And that claim of Russian bounties on American soldiers, money for killing our troops, they're not so sure about that after all. And the insurrection response. Today, the Capitol Hill police watchdog ties the level of officer training to the decision to hold back on rolling out the force's strongest assets.
Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye. Hey, goodbye.
The world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate, available in the GMC Sierra.
It's time to hit refresh, to be buttoned up, to feel your best and look it by using Just for Men shampoo and hair color to eliminate gray in 5 easy minutes. It's time to look forward. Just for Men shampoo in color.
How do you top the perfect cup of Dunkin' Cold Brew? With the perfect top of sweet cold foam. Sip into a smooth Dunkin' chocolate stout cold brew topped with sweet cold foam. Order ahead on the app. America runs on Dunkin'.
Hey Google, turn up the heat.
America's economic revival is accelerating. A new report shows a dramatic drop in the number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits. Applications for first-time jobless claims fell to 576,000. That's the lowest at any point during the pandemic. And what do people do when they feel better about their job prospects? They spend money. Retail sales up nearly 10% last month. That was a lot better than expected, thanks in part to the new round of relief checks. CNBC senior economics correspondent Steve Leisman now. Steve, the speed of this comeback has been remarkable. Do economists see this as a sort of liftoff?
Yeah, it sure feels, Shep, like there's some some air underneath these wings here. We had the blowout jobs report last month, nearly 1 million jobs. The data you cited today, just really crazy retail numbers. So it's certainly starting to feel like we're leaving the gravitational pull of the pandemic behind. And we have some other data that I can show you from our CNBC All-America Economic Survey. You can see that the outlook of Americans, this is a poll nationwide, 44% now think the economy will get better in the next year, and that's a bit better than we were doing back in December 2020. And those who think it's going to stay the same or get worse, that's about the same. So we still have some work to do there.
Steve, are the people who were first to be laid off, like restaurant and hotel workers, are they being rehired?
There's some initial indication that's happening. If you look, for example, at the leisure and hospitality industry, which is pretty interesting, they lost an awful number of jobs, 3.8 million. They were down at the worst point of the pandemic. We've gotten back in the last 2 months 647,000. Still a very long way to go, but it looks like we've had some very strong hiring in some of those sectors like leisure and hospitality that have been hardest hit in the pandemic.
But the recovery is really uneven. What do we know about those really left out now?
Well, we still know there's 3 or 4 million people who have left the workforce that have not come back in yet. You know that women are among the hardest hit in this downturn, in part because the schools aren't open. I was just checking, only 60% of schools are some combination of virtual and in person, so they're not back all the way yet. When that happens, that's when you can start to see some women who are the primary caregivers come back, and some of these other places. A lot of businesses, Shep, that still haven't opened yet and won't be hiring until those businesses reopen.
Steve Leisman, thank you. I'm Shepard Smith on CNBC. It's the bottom of the hour. Time for the top of the news. Overhauling children's education. The push for personal finance classes that some say will pay off. People still missing after a boat capsized off Louisiana. Family members holding out hope that air pockets are keeping their loved ones alive. And the U.S. imposes sanctions against Russia. The White House taking action against Moscow for interfering in the 2020 election, and that SolarWinds hack into government agencies and American businesses. What's notable here is what the sanctions are not for. Last June, the New York Times reported U.S. intel found that Russia secretly offered Afghan militants bounty. It became a political lightning rod during the election year.
Deep concern that the White House has to act with Russia pay bounty for the killing of American troops in Afghanistan.
Never got those details back then. Eamon, back to those sanctions. Do these have any teeth, or is it just more of the same lip flapping?
Well, look, what the president said today is he's being careful not to start a spiral of retaliation and escalation that could get out of control.
I was clear with President Putin that we could have gone further, but I chose not to do so. I chose to be proportionate.
Now, Biden also said he believes he and Putin will be able to have a summit this summer to work on making this relationship more predictable. His package of sanctions includes blocking U.S. investors from buying new Russian debt and blocking American businesses from doing business with 6 specific Russian companies that help the Russian cyber program. Biden is also going to just toss out 10 Russian diplomats out of the United States here. And we learned some new information today about the 2016 election. For the first time, the U.S. government said that while Donald Trump was running for president in 2016, his campaign manager, Paul Manafort, passed internal polling data to a known Russian intelligence agent, Konstantin Kilimnik, who then passed that election information on to Russian intelligence. And Shep, we also got reaction from the Russian spy service today. The SVR called the White House allegations that it was behind the SolarWinds hack nonsense and windbaggery. But of course, they would say that, wouldn't they, Shep?
Yes, they definitely would. Eamon Javers, thanks so much. The insurrection now The official watchdog for the Capitol Police told lawmakers today that an order barring officers from using their most powerful riot control weapons compromised the Capitol on January 6th.
Certainly would have provided the department at a better posture to repel these attackers. It would put them in a better position.
Michael Bolton said officers were not told to use those weapons because they could have been life-threatening. But he said that's true with all police weapons, and the takeaway here, officers should have been properly trained to use them.
Training deficiencies put the officers, our brave men and women, in a position not to succeed.
A report from his office yesterday also found that the Capitol Police did receive warnings of violence on the 6th, with Congress as the target, but ignored or overlooked them. Retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore now. He reviewed the U.S. Capitol security in the wake of the January 6th riots. General, thank you. They had the intelligence. They ignored the intelligence. Why in the world would anyone do that?
Well, there was some good discussions today led by the chairman, Chair Lady Zoe offering getting into that, and they didn't get done today. But I'd be interested to hear the answers to those questions myself.
You just wonder if it's politics, you know?
Yeah, Task Force 1-6 was to make sure we make recommendations that it doesn't happen again. Tomorrow will be 100 days, Shep, and we turned our report in possibly a month ago plus. And it's good to see these investigations are ongoing by Congress, but those doors are not secured properly. The engineering to put in the engineered fencing with the Corps engineers not done yet. The windows still need to be fixed. We need to hire more officers, and all that requires a supplemental. So I hope Congress will get through these hearings and move forward with the supplemental so the architect of the Capitol can start doing the engineering and replacement work, and the Capitol Police can get on with doing the hiring and recruiting and incentive pay. And oh, by the way, fix the retirement benefit for the Capitol Police. You know, the Capitol Police, one of the issues that bother them is the Park Police has a better retirement program than the Capitol Police.
Right. I want to stick to security just for a second, General, because I read your suggestions and your assertion that between the Capitol insurrection and the time that your suggestions are put into place, members of Congress are in jeopardy. They're in danger inside the Capitol. Do you stand by that? And should they do something in the short term to try to prevent something?
Well, what we need to do now, the Capitol is secure because we have hundreds of National Guard there backing up the Capitol Police. And the Capitol Police is able to secure the Capitol under current conditions. And they have extra fencing around. And the National Guard give them the capacity to fully secure the Capitol. But the mission of Congress is to fund the police. We've had two different reports now, both the IG report and Task Force 1-6, saying we need more officers. And that will not start until the supplemental is funded. Shep?
Do you real quick, General, if these things don't happen, are you going to get back up there and let them hear from you again?
I act at the request of Congress. Otherwise, I'm just an old general go and feed his horse in the evening.
You are not that and have never been that. I remember New Orleans, your hero.
We're standing by if they want us. That's why I'm here to tell American people they need to write their members of Congress. 100 days tomorrow, we can do this. This is their police force. This is not something that happens in Afghanistan or Iraq. These are the policemen.
Yeah.
Two of them have died protecting them. It's time for Congress to act. They can overstudy this. If they want, they can the most deliberative body in the world can overstudy the colors of the doors on the Capitol. But they need to get this done. They can't wait for Jesus to come fix this.
He's not coming. Well, General, all the best. Many thanks and great respect. The former Vice President Mike Pence is recovering after surgery to implant a pacemaker. Mr. Pence is 61. He recently experienced symptoms associated with a slow heart rate, according to a statement from his office. The routine surgery performed yesterday in Virginia. Former VP expected to return to normal activity, as they put it, in the coming days. The U.S. Coast Guard still searching for 12 people after their large ship capsized off the coast of Louisiana. Today, bad weather delayed divers from reaching the 129-foot boat. Officials say it's possible that the survivors are trapped inside that ship. It's been 2 days, though, since the Coast Guard received a distress call about 8 miles off the tip of Lafourche Parish. So far, they've rescued 6 and recovered 1 victim's remains. NBC's Sam Brock following the operation in Port Fourchon in Louisiana. Sam?
Shep, good evening. You know, if we were waiting for a big breakthrough, so far that hasn't happened, but we've seen some major developments here just in the last couple of hours. In fact, within the last 20 minutes or so, the U.S. Coast Guard tweeted that they have deployed divers into the water and that those divers, Shep, knocked on the hull of the boat and got no response. Other things we're following right now. The NTSB has gotten involved with this investigation. We've also learned from the U.S. Coast Guard they had thermal imaging dating back to Tuesday of 5 people on the hull of the ship, 2 of whom slipped off and were rescued, 1 by a U.S. cutter, 1 by a Grand Isle boat. A 3rd person is unaccounted for, and Shep, the 2 others, according to U.S. Coast Guard officials, did retreat for shelter into the ship, and there was communication there as of about 10 o'clock on Tuesday night. That's the last they say they've heard of it. There were reports we were receiving that there might have been further communication in the following days. That is unfounded, according to the U.S. Coast Guard. But we have reached out to them throughout the course of this day, have gotten very few questions answered on camera or certainly details of this actual search. We did see, however, a family member hold an impromptu press conference at this fire station over my shoulder where I'm standing, not far from where this search is being conducted. We're in Port Fourchon right now. And she said she's hopeful that she was told by Secor, the company that manages the vessel, that 8 to 10 divers had deployed, that they would take them 4 days once they get inside the ship to actually sweep the whole thing. It's so big. And she said right now she is holding out hope. Here's that woman, Marion Kyler.
They did not confirm that there was actual physical communication, but there may have been signs that they know that there's people in there. Plus, like I said, you know, the guy that got rescued said that they're in there.
Secor so far has not given us any follow-up statements from what we had received yesterday. And I will say, Shep, just spending time here today, watching these family members go in and out, some were hugging, some were crying. Many, as you saw, were optimistic. It's a combination of feelings, but certainly right now, these are critical hours trying to find 12 missing people. Shep.
Fingers crossed, Sam. Thank you. New developments in the work to create a vaccine for HIV. The sign of progress is a welcome side effect of getting the COVID vaccine. And 3 small businesses in the same small town taking on the pandemic in very different ways. Their stories of survival and American comeback next.
Nobody dreams in conventional thinking. It didn't get us to the moon. It doesn't ring the bell on Wall Street or disrupt the status quo. T-Mobile for Business uses unconventional thinking to help you realize new possibilities, like our new Work From Anywhere solutions, so your teams can collaborate almost anywhere, plus customer experience that finds solutions in the moment, and first-class benefits like 5G with every plan. Network, support, and value without any trade-offs. That's T-Mobile for Business.
We've been at this for a year. Juggling, struggling, winning, and losing. But the light is ahead, and it invites us not to go back to where we left off, but to break through, to redefine how we relate, to reinvent the way we work, and reimagine how we communicate. This is our moment to build something new.
Nerds!
Thanks. Let's go. I can.
No, I got it.
Sweet unholy cobalt. Is Brad's car better than mine? Better sign-up bonus? Better travel perks? Is that how Brad took that trip to Barcelona? Wait, Barcelona? Barcelona?
Steve, I got it on NerdWallet.
Ah. You said all that out loud.
Want a better credit card? We've got you. From the best rates to the best rewards, for all your credit card questions, turn to the nerds.
The future of fitness isn't dumbbells. It's revolutionary digital weight that learns as you get stronger. So you can be your strongest. Tonal, now at 40 Nordstrom locations nationwide.
The U.S. economy appears to be rebounding as more Americans get back to work. And across our country, small businesses are getting back on track as well. We bring you their stories in our ongoing series, American Comeback. At the start of the pandemic, CNBC spoke with 3 entrepreneurs in East Austin, Texas. Their businesses were struggling mightily as COVID caused a nightmare on Main Street. Now, almost a year later, we're checking back in. CNBC's Andrea Day with the stories of the American comeback.
The one word that best describes this past year is challenging.
For me, it's been exhausting.
For me, it is confusion.
One town, 3 small businesses, and 1 year into the new normal.
It was a constant worry.
Alta Alexander owns Altitudes, a women's clothing boutique. And when COVID hit,
it really brought my sales to a screeching halt.
Alta was forced to shift her entire business online.
It was a constant daily struggle, thinking, how am I going to make it?
But it got worse in June after a fire destroyed her store. Today, she's still running the business from home and waiting for the landlord to rebuild. Down the street is Eric Wickman's bar.
Over the last year, we've literally had $0 in revenue.
He's been shut down since COVID hit, hoping to reopen later this month.
There's no chance we would still be here without the loans from the government.
But it wasn't just $72,000 from the government keeping him afloat. Family and friends chipped in too.
There's no way we could have borrowed enough money to stay closed for a full year.
Steps away is Stuart King's funeral home.
We had to pivot in many ways.
Like when gatherings were severely limited due to COVID, he started live streaming services, keeping grieving families connected and his business going.
That was the most disappointing thing for families. They cannot grieve like they normally would.
But they all say, despite the hardships, they learned some valuable lessons.
One thing I've learned is that I am stronger than I even thought that I was.
Shutting down was the right thing to do.
But we always find a way to survive. This pandemic has made us a better people as far as love is concerned.
I really think that things are starting to look up.
I am super optimistic about things coming back once people feel safe and comfortable again.
And Shep, the bars are open right now in Austin and all over Texas. But you know what? Eric says he's not ready yet. He's waiting until his staff is fully vaccinated before he lets anyone drink inside. And he thinks that will happen in May. Shep?
Hope so. Andrea, thanks so much. For years, researchers have been trying to create a vaccine for HIV, the virus that causes AIDS if left untreated. Now there's new data that shows there could be some promising developments. And the technology used in COVID vaccines may play a key role. Both Pfizer and Moderna vaccines use mRNA, a technology that sort of teaches our cells to make a protein that triggers an immune response inside our bodies. Scientists say they're now trying to use that process to develop vaccines for other diseases. Keep in mind, this new research doesn't necessarily mean we'll have an HIV vaccine in the near future, but it could mean we're a step closer. Here's CNBC's Meg Terrell.
U.S. government scientists announced in Washington today they have isolated a virus they believe causes AIDS.
Since the 1984 discovery of the virus that would come to be known as HIV, the promise of a vaccine was always right around the corner.
Researchers say development of a vaccine is at least 2 years away. Some say it could be much longer.
More than 3 decades later, scientists like William Schief of Scripps Research hope they're closing in on success. Early data from a study in 38 people showed they can create a special type of immune cell, key to a potential HIV vaccine. But there's still a long way to go. That's where messenger RNA comes in.
There are a lot of ways that mRNA could alter the vaccine space.
The technology's power and speed was proven by the COVID-19 pandemic, Schief says. Now he and his team are working with vaccine developer Moderna to use it to target HIV. But there's a reason a vaccine for this disease has been so elusive.
Making a vaccine to protect against HIV is not just making a vaccine against one virus or one virus and a small number of variants, as we're seeing with SARS-CoV-2. It's like trying to protect against 100 million viruses.
HIV mutates so much, it's orders of magnitude more diverse than SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, he says. So his vaccine approach is a series of steps, coaxing the immune system into producing specific antibodies that are broadly neutralizing, meaning they could cover all those millions of iterations of HIV. The first trial used an older technology, a protein vaccine. It took years to make.
So mRNA really is, we're hoping it will be a big accelerator in our ability to develop an HIV vaccine.
Now, the next step is a human clinical trial using mRNA to see if it can replicate the promising results they've already had. If it does, it'll still be a long road ahead. Dr. Schief told us he hopes within 5 to 10 years they'll develop the right series of vaccination steps that could be protective. And then there's still more work to be done before it could be deployed. Shep?
Sounds promising. Again, Meg, thank you. A big night for Lakers fans. Staples Center opening to fans for the first time in 13 months. A lot's changed, including the Lakers winning a title while you fans were away. Getting a seat won't be easy. Only 2,000 tickets available, and if you're lucky enough to score one, the hoops you will have to jump through are extensive. Fans have to show a recent negative COVID test or proof of a full vaccination. Mask and social distancing required. On top of that, no cash, food ordered on your phone. In fact, everything is digital and no bags allowed. If all goes smoothly and COVID cases in California keep falling, authorities there say Staples Center could be back at full capacity by the middle of June. Remember telling your teacher, I'm never going to need to know that. Then years later, finding out you were right. Next, the push for a different lesson plan that students say is already paying off. And UFOs buzz a naval destroyer. Now the Pentagon is going on record about who shot the footage.
Solstice Lager by Stella Artois. A new way to savor time in the sun. Triple filtered for a smooth taste with citrus notes and a crisp finish. Exceptionally golden.
I'm ordering some burritos.
Oh, nice.
Burritos? Get a freshly made footlong from Subway instead, with crisp veggies on freshly baked bread. Just order in the app. Ditch the burgers.
Choose better, be better.
Subway, eat fresh.
Ideas exist inside you. Electrify you. They grow from our imagination, but they can't be held back. They want to be set free. To make the world more responsible and even more incredible. Ideas start the future, just like that.
This is my wallet before, and this is my Ridge wallet.
It's smaller, lighter, and a lot more convenient than my old leather wallet.
And helps me get rid of all the junk that I've collected over the years.
The Ridge is a huge upgrade. Get your Ridge wallet at ridge.com.
When you've got a health concern, there's searching the internet, and there's science. There's surprise bills, and there's knowing what you're gonna pay. There's a lab test on your own schedule from home. There's physician-reviewed results you can understand. Everlywell, demand better for your body.
If you're tired and you know it, skip the gym.
If you're anxious and you know it, take a break.
If your heart rate variability is 50 and your body temperature's normal.
If your breathing rate is optimal and you know it,
bring it on.
Aura. Know why you feel how you feel.
Walmart in the driver's seat, and that's what's topping CNBC's On the Money. The world's largest retailer investing in Cruise, the GM-backed all-electric self-driving startup. Walmart using the investment to build out its delivery network. The autonomous grocery delivery program still in the early phases these days. They're testing it in Scottsdale with plans for expansion, but not yet. If successful, it could help Walmart meet the growing demand for delivery. Amazon hits a new milestone and now reports 200 million Prime members, 50 million added in the last year alone. The CEO, Jeff Bezos, made the announcement in his final letter to shareholders. Analysts call Prime a growth engine for the company since members spend more on the site than non-members. And no likes here. Public health experts urging Facebook to abandon plans for a new version of Instagram that targets kids under 13. They say Facebook really isn't ready to manage an app that could have a powerful influence over young children. A Facebook spokesperson says the company will consult with experts on the project. Well, on Wall Street, the Dow up 305, the S&P up 46, the NASDAQ up 181. Some things are learned in school, like mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Potatoes can be made into batteries. What we didn't learn, how to prepare taxes, manage our money, and check our credit scores. In fact, only a handful of states require high school students to take any kind of personal finance class at all, even though adults deal with money every single day. Don't see many potato batteries, though. CNBC's Sharon Epperson now with a look at some star students trying to change all that.
Any guesses?
They give it an abbreviation.
Correct.
We first met Olivia Raymond in early 2020 in her personal finance class in middle school. Now, a year later, 14-year-old Olivia is still using those important money lessons.
Those are skills that can be applied when I go for a job, when I apply to colleges.
A ninth grader attending high school remotely in New Jersey, she's looking forward to continuing to gain access to valuable financial education. New Jersey is one of 21 states requiring students to take personal finance coursework in order to graduate from high school. And those numbers are growing. So far this year, 25 state legislatures and D.C. have introduced financial education bills.
This is the opportunity for folks to reach out to their state legislators to say, this is important.
The economy has been fluctuating up and down. We need to know these things.
Zoe McCall testified in front of her local school board in Maryland last year, advocating for requiring a personal finance class in the district's high schools.
I can make a difference with the proper knowledge to make good financial decisions.
The board passed a resolution adding financial literacy as a graduation requirement.
It will be implemented for my class. It's just very, very exciting.
The oldest sibling in her family, Zoe, now 15, says it's an important victory for future generations too.
No matter what age you are, it's good to have those conversations.
What do we know about economy?
Even as young as 8 and 9 years old.
The rest is in the bank.
This Ohio elementary school is using music videos and online tools like SmartPath to make money lessons fun for these third graders.
No matter how you pay, it's still money you're spending.
You have to pay back if it's on a credit card.
Financial literacy for students of all ages has become a national movement.
It's for us. This is what we want. This is going to impact us directly.
That Zoe and others hope will continue to grow. Zoe and the students we met for this story are truly inspirational. Research shows that studying personal finance will help kids make sound financial decisions as adults. And students who are required to take a personal finance class in high school typically have lower credit card balances, higher credit scores, and they take out smaller private loans to pay for college. They're also more likely to save, budget, and invest. I sure wish I learned more about this in high school. It definitely beats dissecting a frog in class, Shep.
I hear you, Sharon. Thanks. Video released of an unknown object flying over a Navy destroyer. Look at this. In the night vision video, some sort of flying triangle you can see there. The Pentagon confirming Navy personnel took the images. They're expected to be part of a report on unidentified aerial phenomenon, UFOs to you and me. That report to be presented to Congress this summer. 35 seconds left on a race to the finish. Chicago releasing the video body cam video of shooting of the 13-year-old Adam Toledo. It appears to show both of the boys' hands were empty when an officer shot him, a gun found nearby. Derek Chauvin decided he'll not testify in the murder trial for the death of George Floyd. Closing arguments are set for Monday. And now, you know the news of this Thursday, April the 15th, 2021. I'm Shepard Smith. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The News on CNBC, and stay tuned for Shark Tank.
How great is it that we get to tell everybody how Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need? I mean, uh-oh, sorry.
Oh, what? I'm an emu! No, buddy.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.